6:30. We have forms, so first thing we're going to do is a pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first thing on our agenda is public hearing for the new liquor license. All good time.
Jenna and Ryan Matthew. I don't see them here. Harry contacted them, they said they would be.
Okay.
I don't see them on, Zoom either.
Okay. And I can hold the public hearing without being here.
Going to hold it?
So, Lorna, it's supposed to be Ryan Matthew.
Yes, he's not here.
Well, he said he would be there this evening.
I don't see him here.
Sarah, you trying to.
Trying to get them.
Okay.
Music and.
We have a motion open public hearing.
I move that we open the public hearing on liquor license application.
A second.
Okay, all those in favor? In favor. Outside, but so.
So I move we postpone the public hearing, since the applicant is not here.
So door just open.
Were you showing me that now?
Oh.
Can you guys see me?
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I did it correctly. Okay.
You are not on the liquor license application, though.
Nope, I'm not. I just wanted to make sure I'm all set. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so Carol made a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Postpone. 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, that one, yeah.
Yeah, see if they show up, maybe we can come back to it. All right. Now need a motion to open the select board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5 in favor, yes. First thing we do at our select board meetings is open the floor to public comment for anything that's not on the agenda tonight for discussion. Normally we don't act on it, but it can be added to a later date. So, do you have anybody with?
I know this is about the reverse osmosis systems that you guys voted on. I know it's already voted in the past, but I just have a few things to say about it. So I'm going to start with a little bit of information, then I have a few questions at the end. So these are the results of the concentrated saltwater effects on the septic system in Maine. So concentrated salt water, such as seawater intrusion or water softener discharge, can negatively impact the main septic systems by reducing the soil's ability to drain. harming beneficial bacteria, potentially contaminating the groundwater. This can lead to slow drainage and backup and even system failure. Reduced soil permeability and drainage. Salt buildup, salt buildup in the drain field can reduce the soil's ability to absorb water, to absorb and filter wastewater. This can lead to slow drainage, the pooling of water near the tank, the drain field, and eventually backflow. Harm to the beneficial bacteria. High salt concentrations can kill or inhibit beneficial bacteria in the septic tank, drain field that are crucial for wastewater treatment. These bacteria break down organic matter and prevent buildup of harmful substances. Groundwater contamination. If the septic system is not functioning properly, contaminated wastewater can seep into the groundwater, impacting nearby wells and water sources. Septic tanks rely on a layered system where solids settle at the bottom. Scum floats to the top and clear effluent is released into the drain field. The high salt concentration in the brine can disrupt this layering, causing solids to become suspended and potentially flow to the drain field. If solids go to the drain field, then they can clog the pipes and soil and reducing the system's ability to filter waste. August 20th, 2016 is when this story came out, and I wished I would have written down who posted it, but I didn't. Belgrade voters cover cost overruns in construction of new town office. Residents approve $157,000 to help cover the cost and overruns in construction of new town office. Well, with some hard questions, and it goes on, but I'm gonna skip. The unexpected items weren't factored into the original budget, included $52,100 for engineering services, $11,200 for water filtration system for the entire building, which was added after tests show high level of salt in the water. $17,500 in additional site work to make changes to a drainage and retention pond and add a septic system for the filtration system. When Anthony was town manager, Dwight Doughty was the project manager and a hydrologist for the main DOT. Was he still the same guy? So when he talked about ongoing sources of salt contamination, one that he mentioned was the reverse osmosis system that treats the water at the town office. Salt from the salt contaminated well and the brine salt discharges into the septic leach field. Since salt is a solution, it passes through the leach field into the soil and eventually groundwater and is transported with the flow of groundwater further towards the depot road and the 27 intersection. So my questions are, if septic start failing, who's responsible? Was it evaluated whether the concentrated brine from these 13 homes and businesses and leach fields would pose a risk to the wells currently not contaminated or increasing the concentration of salt in the aquifer and down gradient wells such that their treatment systems design and operation may be affected? Who is going to pay for the long-term maintenance and operation fees where the homeowners are innocent victims of the contamination? Training, is it training for the use of these filters and financial subsidies for the future operation and management costs?
Well, some of those questions actually have been answered. The ongoing maintenance is part of their settlement. People decide to settle, they get paid a lump sum that they're supposed to put into a savings account to help maintain their systems. As far as talking about contaminated wells, that's probably a question that we can pose to the state and get some of these answers.
The question of septic system failure hasn't come up, that hasn't come up in any discussions.
Yeah,
So that's
I'll
something.
get Dwight and get an answer for you, Craig.
Yeah, it was Dwight died, and, the town had to put a septic system in for the water treatment.
May I have a copy of your information? You can drop it off this week, or I can make a copy.
You can,
Okay.
you're gonna have to. Oh,
Yeah, I can photocopy, yeah, thank you.
try and find it again.
Sarah,
So,
Greg, according to what you read, what I hear happening is that we are taking the salt out and putting back into the septic system, so is increasing the concentration of the salt
Yeah.
everywhere anyway.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that osmosis system is not good.
see another hand laying back, not first. I say hand, I say hand, but no head back.
So the state has passed, the plumbing code has passed a code as long as the plumbing inspector approves it. Because of the septic system issues, they've proven that the salt does cause a lot of damage to the septic system, so they have you discharge it outside, which is not good. Either into your permanent drain or just discharge your treatment system right on the ground. Instead of into a leach field, if it's approved by the plumbing inspector of each municipality. So that the state does know there's an issue with discharging salt solution into the septic systems.
You sure that the state doesn't have an issue with that?
that's,
It does.
Well, I would like to suggest that we talk to Dwight about this, because the damage to septic systems has not come up in any of our discussions.
right. No, I haven't heard it.
and I know the state budget is tight, and they don't have much money, so. He wasn't pushing that at the beginning, but then towards the end, he leaned towards it more.
Well, what they're doing is they're actually doing it at a location. Down in
Right.
Bingham's Cove. And they said they've been doing it throughout the state now, so. We'll ask the questions.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? Next on the agenda is review and approval of minutes of April 15th. And thoughts.
I move to accept the minutes of April 15th. Second.
I'll-
Second.
I do have a correction. You wanna-
I know, I just moved that we approve them, so
Okay.
now it's time for discussion.
All right, so, on page 5, it's just a minor change. You have, partway down, in addition, the FOBLB president Kathy Atkinson asked approval to pay the lower parking lot. It should be co-chair, not president.
Page 5.
No, page 3 of 5.
Oh,
I may have said 5. I think I did. So it's right under the first
Co-chair,
motion. It
correct.
should be co-chair. Yeah,
Got it,
that's all that I saw.
okay.
and I have 2 small corrections on page 1. The misspelled Caleb and Sellers' last name is Leb, so. Thanks, Barb. Nick's was correct, but yours has had an A. I always do. Just for Caleb,
Okay,
yeah, her last name was misspelled twice on the first page.
all right, any other corrections? All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended? 3, 4, 5. Next is IRC budget. Mr. Garrett is on.
Thank you guys for inviting me out here this evening. I very much appreciate it. I sent a couple documents. I will go over it very quickly. It looks like you have a busy agenda, so I will stay as short or as long as you want. I could talk forever if you want, but I don't think people would like that, so. Our budget, you have a copy of the consolidated budget, our full budget with, 100 pages is on our website. I think some of you have already viewed that, but that is available if you want to look through it, but you have the consolidated budget. And I did just put together a couple of slides just to hit some of the talking points that I do in budget presentations. The first page that I'm seeing you guys have is, I think my first two pages are different, but that's our cost per student. And what I did was I pulled in Central Maine, all the districts in the Kennebec Valleys Association area. So this is you can hand those out. Thank you, Sarah. If anybody wants that. These are all the school districts in Central Maine. Ranges up to from Bingham down to Gardner, Winthrop, Hollowell, Waterville, Winslow, Reedfield, all these central. So the three graphs that you see are all the Central Maine school districts. Now, there's some K-8 districts that I left off. It's gotta be a K-12 districts. And you'll see on the first page there, it just shows our cost per student is one of the lower in Central Maine. We try to manage costs as best as we can. And we're pretty effective with it. We spend less per student than most. And then on the next page, and this is just trying to show you're getting a good bang for your buck, is what you're getting. And last year, well, if I go back 7 years, we were one of the lower academically. We had a low stretch, but in the last few years, you can see we are the top academic performing district in Central Maine of the same schools. So you're paying less per student and you're getting higher. And this is just one data point, but most data points are pointing to the same thing. You're getting a good bang for your buck. We had the highest reading scores, second highest math scores. Last year we had the highest in both, but kudos to a district that also had a good job in math, but that's what you're getting. So I tried to put that forward. Question, yep.
2024 numbers.
That's 2024 numbers, 25 we're taking right now, so.
No, I didn't know if they were older numbers that.
Yeah, they just finally came out, but yes, we did get those. Belgrade, on the top of the next page, it's a question I always get when I go to towns is what's our increase, what did all the towns have to pay? You see the increase for Belgrade, while the budget is up 2.67%, we did receive less state subsidy. That's hard. That's 4 years in a row where we received less state subsidy every year. It's hard to do a budget when you get less money every year, but your increase is 2.89%. And then you see all the other towns, but their increases the 5.7, 6.2, 1.84, and 2.5. So Belgrade's increase is 2.89%. Budget's up 2.67%, but when you get less state subsidy, that's what happens. I tried to hit some of the academic indicators. Again, I'm not going to read all this to you. Our focus is academics and school safety. You see the school safety issues, the test academic. We have spent all our, as of September, this last September, we spent all our COVID funds. Those are all completely gone. Our audit was completed for FY24. We're doing the presentation tonight at the school board. We had an extremely clean audit, which is something I'm very proud of. I tried to show you on the last page, we're a people business. We spend 76% of our budget on staff and on salary and benefits. So when people say, oh, what is it we're gonna look at? I mean, that's what we do. We pay our staff. That's pretty much it. Then the other stuff is heating, transportation, oil, electricity, books, materials, supplies. But it's 76% of our budget is on staffing. So that's what we spend it on. Again, I know you have the whole budget. I don't know what your questions are. But I figured like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to come out here and chat with you all and answer any questions. But again, I don't want to hold you up. So I'll let you ask me a question. And I guess I'm gonna I don't know if I'm supposed to call on people, you guys. Okay, Kenny.
Why does it say that Belgrade's 2.89 here, but then on this, it says something different. There's 1604 or 2.7.
Let me get the page out. Which page are you looking at?
Page 8.
Page 8, you consolidated budget. Okay, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that page is one that I've always, this has been in every year. Back when I was principal, I said this is supposedly this is the cost for $100,000 homes. Can't really find $100,000 home, but for estimated impact on $100,000 home, it would be an extra $16 in taxes. So,
Well, fiscal 26 says 70.
oh, the percent change, 2.70, that includes the adult ed budget also went up. So the budget is, the percent change is 2.67, adult ed is also up.
Adult ed's the next page.
I think that's probably what it is, or that, or somebody just rounded that column, but our budget is up 2.67. So, but Belgrade is up 2.8.
Well, why does it say Oakland is 412,000 increase?
Let me go back to the other document now. Oakland is a $412,000 increase. What's that?
Numbers don't jive at all.
What doesn't jive?
This that you just handed out with this.
Oakland is this does not have that adult ed number in it, so it's a 412 number. This says Oakland is up 397,000, and so there's another $13,000 that I'm guessing is in the adult ed. I'd have to double check that number. This is the final with everything. 412,000 is what Oakland is up, 211 is what Belgrade is up.
Okay, may I ask another question? Oh, thank you, Dan. Why wasn't the overage, the leftover funds from 24 put in the regular budget? Because I understand that it was over $1 million and our budget is over $1 million increase. And there would have been no increase to the taxpayer had it been put in.
We use $800,000 worth of money from FY 24 to lower taxes for taxpayers this year. That brought us to where the fund balance cap, where the board has asked me to get the fund balance to 9%. So using, and then they put anything above the 9% into a contingency fund. That gave us $800,000 of that million to add to cut taxes for taxpayers. So the plan is to use $800,000.
My understanding was it was all put in the emergency fund and
Yeah,
not.
there's $800,000 was used for revenue from we put money in the fund balance and then pull it out of the fund balance to count towards revenue. So our budget plan has 800,000.
So how much of an increase overall is the budget from 24 to 26?
24 to 26?
Yeah, that 24, in fiscal year 24, we had $1 million plus left over. I understand that most of that went in the emergency fund and therefore the increase in the budget went to taxpayers of over $1 million, whereas if it had been put in the general fund, no increase for the taxpayer for the budget.
I know from FY 25 to FY 26, it was up 2.67%. I haven't calculated what the FY 24 to FY 26. I don't know the 2-year calculations. So
Well, at the meeting, it was discussed by the board and it said that there was $1 million plus left over from 24. And why didn't that go to reduce our taxes?
$800,000.
To the emergency fund.
$800,000 did go to reduce taxes. And the board put towards to get to 9% fund balance, which is what we're allowed and what we should have. And then the rest went to the contingency fund.
So.
So how much did our budget increase? After the money from 24 was added, well, you're saying it's 800,000, I think it was $1 million plus, but anyway, how much will our taxes go up after?
Your taxes are going up $211,000 is the additional assessment to Belgrade.
Sarah, you had something?
I usually get confused. So what went into the contingency fund was $1 million.
Was the what?
Well, went into the contingency for this, was one, we have this bucket of, forward balance fund that is basically full. It's supposed to be capped at 9%. So what's going into the contingency fund is what is above 9%,
Correct,
right? So what was above the 9% was about $1 million.
was about $1 million.
And so you're saying that from the contingency fund, we're using $800,000,
No,
okay?
no, from our fund balance, we're using $800,000.
So then in the contingency fund, there's $1 million sitting there
Yes,
by themselves. And what was left in the forward balance fund, is about close to 9% or so, maybe close to $4 million.
3.7, 3.8 million,
Yeah.
yes.
So out of the 3.8 million, we're gonna use $800,000 to next year's budget.
Correct.
So in the undesignated, we have about 3 million.
You would, whatever, however, that $800,000 would come out of the undesignated fund balance, that is correct.
So right now we have in the contingency fund, we have a 4 million, and in the undesignated,
1 million.
1 million,
Yes,
one full million. And in the undesignated, we have about 3 because we're gonna use 800,000 next year.
correct. So we did take it out of contingency, we took it out of the, we're taking it out of the, as we should, as we have to, we take it out of the undesignated.
I only understood that from the beginning. I
Yeah,
appreciate you.
yeah,
correcting
thank you.
that.
So is that going to lower that 9%?
Yeah.
If you take 800,000 out.
Yeah.
800
you're
will
gonna be
lower the
below.
9% at this point, yes.
About 7 or so, yeah.
Okay,
And what's the other million for?
Well, this is the thing that the state law originally says, let's see, I'm saying this correctly. The state law originally said that the above the 9%, the overflow of 9% is supposed to be used completely to offset future budgets up to 3 years. So out of the $1 million, the board could decide to say, well, we're gonna use only 200,000 next year, and then 200,000 next year, and then the next year, we're gonna use 600,000 that add up to the $1 million. All right? But the board decided to grab all that $1 million and put it in a silo called contingency fund for emergencies. So now it's sitting there. So the money that is being taken from the forward balance fund is underneath the 9%, underneath the excess. And that's what is being taken out of there to next year. Is that,
That's close enough.
yeah? I think that's probably very close.
So you've got a fund that's $3 million, and then we have another fund, just for the heck of it, of $1 million,
That is correct.
and why do we have that much excess funds?
So, one, my payroll is over $1 million a week. A pay period, 2 weeks, 2 paid weeks. I mean, most towns, I'm guessing Belgrade, I don't know, I've never looked. My guess is your fund balance is in the 35–40% range. There, you know, I don't know what your fund balance is. Any recommendation from when our fund balance was low, we couldn't get a loan. We got higher interest rates. It cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars because you have to have a fiscally healthy district in order to take out loans, to take out bonds, to do business. A 9% fund balance is not huge. We just happen to have a $50 million, you know, we're a huge organization. So that sounds like a lot of money. $3 million in a contingency fund doesn't get me through 2 months. If we lose federal funds of Title I money and special ed money, there's 1.7 million dollars next year. We need to have fund balances in contingency funds, or otherwise this district is not fiscally healthy. And we've been in that situation in the last decade, and it was extremely difficult on our towns. So we've tried to make our district, you know, financially solvent and a good district. And $3 million contingency, 9%. There's a lot of legislatures that are pushing for 15% for years. That was the push. And I think we should have that 9%. And otherwise, we're not taking care of your tax dollars, and we're setting you up for a huge financial hit if we were to have an emergency happen. So that's why we have that money, just like every town gets.
And I was just gonna say that when all of this was coming up, we were hearing all this news about the school food might be cut federally, and we just, I think the board was very nervous for students and
Yeah.
so.
So we, when the pandemic started, we sat down and said, all right, we're gonna build our budgets based on what the district needs, as if all this pandemic money didn't exist. If we have extra money, we're gonna improve our facilities, we're gonna build our fund balance, we're gonna pay back debt. Actually, they put it in order as we're gonna, our facilities, pay back down debt, and then build our fund balance. And that's, we've, for 3 or 4 years, that's what we've done. We've got it up to the ceiling. Now we're going to start whittling it away, giving that back to taxpayers as soon as we, when we can. But yeah, I would have been not doing my job if I didn't build our fund balance to a
Don't we
reasonable.
now have a second emergency fund?
We do have an emergency, we do have this, well,
We
yeah,
have
we have.
3 million and now
We have we have a
another.
contingency fund of $1 million that the board has, the taxpayers have authorized the board to use for emergency / unexpected / one-time expenses that, they feel are are vital. And it could happen this year where we lose a lot of money in federal money. And we might have to tap into that.
I guess I have a hard time understanding if we have one that we can keep up to 9%, why we're creating another one.
Because I think it should be a lot more than 9%. And I built it, we set it up so that we could have an appropriate amount of money.
But doesn't the state limit us at 9%?
It limits you at 9%. Beyond that, you have to go out and ask the taxpayers to create a contingency fund. So we can do 9% by law.
Right,
But after that, we have to go out to you folks in the towns and say, we would like to do another one, which we did in May of 2023. The taxpayers voted to do that, so we created that account. So it's just a check and balance on making sure we just don't put money away without asking taxpayers. Above 9%.
okay.
And I know it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of money.
Yes.
Then, and this topic, Mr. Garley and I will have an agreement, and we have agreed to disagree on it.
That's fine.
Yeah, there's a GFOA guidelines. I forgot what the G is for, but it's finance, officials association. Government Finance Official Association. And they have a nice, write-up on the amount of money that should be kept for reserves or these kind of things. And, with volatile and, unsteady, governances that fed themselves exclusively on federal grants or state aid, they recommend partly 2 months of, having 2 months in the reserve for sure. Now, 2 months of reserve is 1/6 of the budget, more or less. So that's, so the solid revolve would be 9 to 10%, maybe 11.
Yeah, I mean, if you do 2 months, like I said, our payroll is $1 million, so two a month, so, you're talking $4.5 million. And, I've always been a Dave Ramsey fan of 3 months expenses, but yeah, I've read that as well. I don't think we need more, but I just think we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't have these reserves.
So that said, that's for government agencies that have volatile revenues.
Mhm.
So at the very end of that report, it says that big cities and school boards don't qualify for that. That was interesting part of that, but hey, we have to work with budgets that we feel comfortable with, and Mr. Gotti feel comfortable that leading us in that direction.
And you had a.
Yeah, I don't see your new position in this budget.
My position's not in the budget.
And so the taxpayers can't vote on it.
The board, taxpayers have never voted on any position in the district.
This is a new position.
The school board votes on it. Taxpayers don't vote on any new position. So they hired me as a consultant next year, and the board decided where to pay for that from. And if they put it in the regular budget, that raised taxes. My recommendation was, we shouldn't be raising taxes for a one-time offense. We have a contingency fund. This is a perfect example of something we could use it for, so we're taking out of the contingency fund to keep taxes low. It would raise the taxes. I'd say if you asked 100 people, you probably get some that wanted it done in the regular budget, some that wanted it in the contingency fund.
My question is, if I believe that 1 million plus, well, the cost of the new position is 150,000 with, when you add the benefits. It's 75,000 for the salary plus the benefits. And it's a one-time position, so that is the reason, as I understand it, that it can come out of the contingency fund. But my understanding is, if that money had been put in the regular fund with the leftover 24, and back to that.
Yeah.
It could have come out of that and reduced our taxes, we wouldn't have had an increase.
If you use a huge amount of extra money in one year, then the taxpayers are gonna get hit the following year. Those monies aren't endless, they will disappear. The reason they've grown so much in the last 2 or 3 years is because of COVID grants and how we've managed those better than most districts. So we have been able to grow our contingency fund for that money. But if we use on top of the 800,000, another million in reduced taxes, no increase this year, keep a flat budget. The following year, you get last year's increase plus next year's increase. The taxpayers won't support that, so the district end up making huge cuts. So I used $800,000 trying to find a middle ground of what can we do, make sure we take care of the district, take care of the kids, take care of taxpayers. But no, I think it's a really bad idea to dump as much as you can in one-time funds into lowering taxes one year and just kick the can down the road of the huge increase. Because $1 million, taxpayers are just gonna have to pay it next year, because that money's now gone. So I just think that's just incredibly bad financial management, and I'm just, that's why I didn't do it. But it wouldn't have like lowered taxes forever, now your taxes are lower.
So this new position, is this a 1 year?
This is 1 year.
So next year it's gonna be filled with somebody else?
No,
or you for another year?
no,
This is
absolutely
once and
not.
done. So
Absolutely.
we're not gonna be looking at this next year?
No,
But have
No.
this position come again?
no.
Okay.
Well, I will tell you, in my opinion, no, school board, either,
I guess if you
But I
think
would
it's
say-
out of the contingency fund, I don't think that you should be funding it.
I couldn't agree more. If it's more than 1 year, it should not happen.
Okay.
Couldn't agree more.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
How is our school enrollment compared to?
Actually, that's a good question. The last couple of years, it's ticked down a little bit, like 15, 20 kids, mostly at the younger grades. I just did an update today, as a matter of fact. So our pre-K numbers have ticked back up a little bit. So we're up, I only have the final results, well, they're not even final, but I'm comfortable saying it looks like pre-K, kindergarten is gonna be up in the 15 to 20 range, which is really good, because that's about what we were down the year before, so it gets us, we've trended back up again, so our enrollment it's gone up and down the last few years. During the pandemic, we went up, probably because we were the only district open, so we had a lot of transfers in, but then we ticked down a little the last couple of years, now we're starting to tick up again.
And you had one more. Sarah?
Some people have been asking me in town around this kind of thing, Mr. Guardian. I kind of commented with you before we started the whole thing. Is there any way we can include the field maintenance and resurfacing the tennis court this year and the summer jobs that we're doing with the RSU? The 2 baseball fields in Belgrade Central and the tennis court
Yep.
are part of the Belgrade Central program. And it needs to, specifically the tennis court, I don't think have been surfaced like in
I don't know
10
when the
years or
last,
so.
did you guys know when that was surfaced? We did the baseball fields last spring, we hired sports fields, they came in and we put about $30,000, those fields look.
They look great.
What's that?
They look great.
They look great. They're in mint condition right now. They're good to go. They were in awful shape.
I wouldn't say they're in mint condition.
Really?
They They need maintenance.
What do they need?
They need somebody to come level off the field again because all the rain we've gotten, so it's
Okay.
doing ditching.
Okay, I'll take a walk out
It
there.
just needs to be maintained. They
Yeah.
look great, but.
Yeah. I will take a walk out there and see what I can see, take a look at it, see if it's something we can do or we need to bring somebody in. We have a pretty big crew. We can
The
probably.
equipment right now, we don't have the equipment to do anything with it.
What do you
A lot
need?
better than they did.
Drag,
Yeah.
tractors,
Yeah.
stuff that you
We
need
have
to do
most-
on the day.
We probably have most of the stuff. We could probably do that ourselves. The tennis courts, I have to look into. I don't know any, I know very little
I
about
don't
it.
remember what.
Mary, do you remember?
So the tennis courts were last resurfaced by a private entity in about 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
I don't remember.
I don't know how good, what good or bad condition they're in. I'll just have to get Dan to check those out.
Then, just one last thing, Mr. Gully, in regards to the, academic performance statewide. I know that we are the Golden Star in mid-May.
Yep.
Is our RSU, okay? We are the Golden Stars, no doubt about that. But, compared to all the southern, RSUs.
Yeah.
Southern school districts, where we are in the mix.
I will send that to you and I will send it to the board. I put that together and gave it to the board earlier this year. So, I pulled all the data from the, any school district with, and I don't remember what I used for cutoff. I didn't want to say it's 1,000 students enrolled or more. I didn't pull all the little school districts, which captured most of the ones in southern Maine. There's a lot of big school districts down there. And, if I had done that 5 years ago, would have been, right at the bottom. We had passed the Brunswick, we had passed the Mount Ararat, we were still probably we were in the top third. But we weren't the top like we are now. Then I also post poverty levels and that's a hard thing to say, but yeah, early poverty does make a huge difference in, educational outcomes. So, we're competing with some schools that we face a lot of challenges in our area that some of the southern Maine schools don't face, but I'd still like to catch them and pass them, but there are some challenges to overcome, but I will send that to resend it to the board and I will send it to Dan, I'll send it to you to share with the select
No,
board.
in terms of the RSU itself, the academic performance, the trend, how that goes.
Academic performance?
Yes.
I think,
Compared to the last 4 or 5 years.
yeah, it makes it a little difficult just because the state uses a different assessment most years, so it's hard to compare. So that's why I tend to compare to the, other districts, the districts in central Maine, or the 20 districts and say, all right, how's everybody else, how we're doing? We're getting better compared to everybody else. It is hard to judge an assessment when, 1 year, our district would get 80% of our students achieving, the next year 30% achieving, the next year 60%, and our kids aren't moving around, it's just a different test, so it makes it difficult to compare year to year. But I would
The
say,
reason I ask is people say, gee, you look at the DOE information and we're going downhill.
yeah, when they change assessment, it is hard. In general, our district has been improving. If I post that data from 6-7 years ago, we were very low, so it's been a steady increase up. I'm sure we are gonna hit points where we go up a little, down a little, but in general, we've had a good stretch. There was a lady back here. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just going back to the ball fields.
Yes,
On the actual Belgrade property, there's 4, not 2, and I think 2 were redone last spring. But the other 2 that are close to the school,
Yeah.
those are the 2 that are in pretty poor condition. So if someone is there, they could be looked at too.
I'll take a look at those. I didn't plan on redoing those, honestly.
No, even just, I think even if we could get some assistance with, or a thought process to go with just some refinishing some of the surfaces. Cause what we had gone into the season thinking they would be usable. There's one that definitely isn't usable. It's.
How many
It's
fields?
a safety
I
hazard.
thought only the ones closer to the road were the RSUs.
All 4. There's 4.
There's 4.
Yeah,
All of them are the
just
RSUs?
Yes.
Oh.
I'll have to figure out, I don't even know what the need is out here, except I don't think, is a lot?
I coach and
Yeah.
it's a struggle finding fields to practice on.
Is it?
Play games on. Yeah, if we could get those 2 fields back and usable. it
The
would
ones
help a lot
closer to
To the school, the one closest to the tennis court and the one closest to the school.
there's 4 of them.
And they
I thought it was only
redid 2 of them last year, where those trees were removed, that's where the line is.
Actually didn't know that until we had those trees removed. But anyway, yeah, I'll take a look.
I just wanted to add, we're switching over, they're making a big difference in curriculum stuff and the new reading program, the teachers are really excited about too, so I think there's a lot of hope that that's really gonna help to increase scores as well, and that's brand new, so none of these scores are gonna reflect that.
Is it phonics?
More phonics.
Yeah, we started a phonics program like 5 years ago. Jolly Phonics is the one we looked at several phonics programs, and that's made a big difference. That's one of the reasons I would say the reading scores have increased, and there's even another step up in the phonics program.
And you got some.
I'd like to ask about the pickleballs. How many did the RSU spend and how was that dispersed through 5 times?
Well, pickleball courts were built at the high schools and middle schools. We wouldn't put there because they're, that's the kid, we don't put them at we didn't put them at any elementary schools. We put them at the, one at the Oakland complex, high school, middle school, one at the China middle school. And I don't have a dollar number. I didn't bring that with me. I'm talking of my head.
So China got how many?
The China middle school and Messalonsky middle school, there's four in China and I think 6 at the high school. I'd have to double check.
Belgrade didn't get any.
There's no high school or middle school in Belgrade.
I understand that.
Oh, I just didn't know if you, yeah, because, well, you've asked that Penny question, Penny, quite a few times. I've told you, we didn't put them in, we didn't do them for a town. We did them for the middle schools, we did them for the high school. When the district was formed, the 5 towns made a commitment, whatever they did for one middle school, they would do for the other. We made that commitment and we were gonna honor it. So when we did those courts there, we did courts there.
When did I ask that question before?
Oh,
I've never asked that.
okay, any other questions?
Yeah, are there any projects that need to be done at Belgrade Central that you'll be working on this summer? I know you have usually have a summer list.
Yeah, there's not a lot. We've done the windows, we've done the parking lots, we've done the roofs. I'd have to double check, but I don't think there's a lot of big projects in Belgrade Central School this summer. We have windows, we have one building left to do windows in. The last one we've done. A couple outbuildings that have new windows, with the roof. But not a lot out here this summer.
I would just like to say thank you
Oh,
for
gotcha.
being responsive to our questions
Oh,
over the
I
years.
love this.
During your tenure as superintendent.
Oh, yes.
You've been very responsive whenever we've asked you to come out and address an issue. You've been very responsive. And
Yes.
I know we all appreciate it.
I love coming out here. And have fun
And we wish you well.
I will take
And
that as
you're
my
graduating.
exit I finally graduated after 50-something years of being in school. I finally am graduating, so unless if there's more questions, send them to me, absolutely happy to answer anything. I hope that helps.
Okay.
Thank you.
And pre-K is all set in Belgrade. We did get enough to have a one full session, probably not 2, but 1 full session. It's not quite full, but we get 12 people. 12 young students still signed up, so I'm happy about that.
But enrollment is open to.
Oh, the enrollment will stay open, so we have room for 3 more. I'm not sure if we'll
And
jump
we're
that.
gonna get more finals.
We'll find it. Good to see everybody. Good luck.
Thank
Sorry
you.
you have a long meeting ahead of you, but up to you.
Next is-
Ron?
Yes.
Yeah, Ryan Matthews?
Yes.
Yes, Lisa.
Okay,
Okay,
so what's the board's pleasure? Do you want to reopen the public hearing?
Yes.
Yes. I move that we reopen the public hearing on the liquor license application.
Second,
All those in favor? 5-0. So, what do you guys plan on doing down there? Serving, tastings, what is exactly?
Serving, we want to kind of expand our lunch menu. Because right now, I don't know if you've been there before, but it's mostly just wraps, little stuff like that. We just want to go a little bigger and do salads with chicken and just kind of do more of a lunch menu. And we had a lot of people last year, I feel like, that mentioned, oh, do you have a beer? Do you have wine? So we kind of took that into consideration, plus also you guys are probably familiar with Pork and Cow, Rob and Amy, that's coming in. We've kind of become friends with them, so we're thinking we want to partner with them. They're gonna use some of our baked goods, in their store. And then we want to possibly like offer some of their wines that they have, and you know, if somebody likes a wine that they get. We mentioned them, you know, you can get full bottles, you know, right there, one door over. So that's kind of our thoughts.
Are you gonna end up expanding into more of a commercial kitchen, full kitchen type thing?
It depends on, obviously, Liz Fontaine owns the building. We are trying to get a hold of the house portion of it, which then we would probably go that route.
Do you have to cordon off a part of the,
Yeah, the front where all the seating is what our plan would be was put large planters on all four corners, or probably 6 planters. Put a little chain link fence. And, you know, just plant some flowers and stuff like that.
so are children allowed to be with their parents in that area, or are children not allowed to be?
No, I believe they're allowed, yeah.
I don't know, I know at the wine tasting, they don't let the kids in, so that's why I was asking.
How do people purchase? Do they go?
They would go right to our front. Right,
Inside?
Yeah.
Get their own and bring it out?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure how the server thing would work. I mean, we're gonna have people that could serve them. But I'm honestly not sure. I would have to look at the rules on that.
Because I'm just wondering who's gonna be monitoring the front for people, so they're not just walking down the street with an open container.
Yeah, usually it's either me or my wife Jenna are always there, so it would be one of us.
Or bringing in their own.
Right.
Right, yeah, that would be a problem.
Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
So I have a question. So the appropriate signage will be put into place not to leave the restricted area where the
Right.
alcohol is being served, correct?
Yes, yeah, they would be on the chain link fence. We would have to have some signs made for that.
And are you serving just by the glass
Yes,
at this time?
yes,
Do you have seating inside?
only one table.
Okay, so if inclement weather, you have a line
We have
full.
Umbrellas that we put up. Honestly, when it's raining, people still end up sitting outside, which we want to kind of expand on that and make them a little fancier and stuff like that, but that's all kind of with time.
Anything else?
So one more quick question. So sitting inside is not reflected to serving alcohol on your application. Are you going to be serving alcohol inside of the facility?
I would say yes.
So then it looks like your application may need to be revised a little bit, just to show that it's going to be served inside the facility as well, Ryan.
Okay. So right now, how is it? We have to serve outside.
Looks like you have an arrow pointing to the outside of the facility only.
Oh, the
Okay.
drawing.
Food and
Food and
drinking
drinking
area.
drawing, yeah.
Okay,
It does show the table inside.
okay.
Right, but it doesn't show, yeah.
Okay, so in that case, we just wouldn't be able to serve inside.
You could revise your drawing before it gets submitted to the liquor licensing agency.
Okay. I can do that.
Yeah, Mary, do you know, if they're saying they're serving the alcohol outside, but he's saying people will come in and buy it at the counter? Is that still considered being served outside? If they walk out with it?
I cannot be sure on that. I cannot be sure. So, I guess
That's
that
a-
would be a question for the liquor licensing. And, there are inspectors and things that will go out and review the application.
I
So
think if you have a
I'm just not
license,
sure.
it doesn't matter if they're inside or outside. I never had that problem. I had a liquor license, so they drank inside and outside. Yeah.
Do you need people outside that are employed by them monitoring outside? Or is it just a free for all out there?
I had servers, so
Right,
it was
that-
different.
That's just a big
With,
concern to me
Yeah,
personally.
Cement. I had a wall.
I don't trust barriers. Planters and little chain link things don't really do it for me.
But the liquor license inspector will come out and he'll make sure, he won't let them do anything until it's up to standards with the state.
right, we already had someone stop by, Marlene, I believe her name was, and she looked over the whole area.
And you're not gonna be open Thursday nights during concerts.
We are thinking about it, yeah.
Okay, because that would be a concern I would have, is that people are going to get their wine.
Right, and then go
the
across the
street.
street, yeah,
And
yeah, we
that
would
is
have
a
to
real,
watch
you
that,
really need someone out front to make sure that someone's
Right.
not doing that.
yeah, we would have to watch that for sure.
Obviously, I don't want it, and then people come out and sit at their tables and listen to the music.
Yeah, right.
Right, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, we weren't last year, but there
There
were a few times we were there late on Thursdays and we're like, you know what, we probably should open, it's kind of a cool little time to.
Yeah.
All right, any more questions?
Well,
Any questions from the public? There's a public hearing. No? All right, make a motion to close the public hearing.
second,
All those in favor? 3, 4, 5.
okay,
I'll make a motion to grant license. Approve license.
so moved. Second,
All right, all those in favor? 4-0 against.
Thank you.
All right, now, back to the unfinished business, water. Contamination financing terms and the emotion. What do we have going on there?
So I contacted the state about the financing, which you had discussed, doing a 10-year option, there's zero interest charged. But they just need you to make a motion that you would like 10-year financing. They're already working on an amendment for the agreement. They just need a term, they just need something official from you all.
okay.
Nothing going on?
The question on the reverse osmosis and septic, we can, I mean, this is just on the financing piece of it, so
Correct.
I just want to make sure if we make the
Get that
motion
later.
that we at least.
Still follow on the questions.
Right. So, with that in mind, I move that we, finance, the town's portion through the state, for option C with a 10-year term and no interest.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? 3, 4, 5. Very good. And Sarah? All right, fiscal year change.
So the budget committee met and reviewed the timeline. Discussed, setting a date and time for the 6-month budget meeting, town meeting, which would, we recommend January 24 at 9 AM. There was a suggestion of having a community breakfast prior to, as a way for voters to gather and vote, on the 6-month budget. In addition, The Budget Committee also recommended for consideration meeting in June of 2026 at 9 a.m. with another community breakfast prior to that as well. Encouraging larger participation with the opportunity for voters to enjoy their summer afternoon afterward. Thinking that if we did it in the morning, that may bring more people. Yes, getting these dates set will allow staff, the budget committee and select board a firm timeline for planning purposes.
I like the idea of a community breakfast. I think that's a nice way of
Yeah.
encouraging people to come and having some of the camaraderie of the town meeting.
Yeah, but nice five pound to volunteer to cook.
No, neither one.
They're all gone.
Okay, what is specified?
But we just need a motion for that.
Yeah, motion
Accept
to,
it.
if you, I give you a sample motion there, you could use that if you like.
Okay. I move that we change the town of Belgrade's fiscal year from January 1 to December 31st to July 1 to June 30th with a 6-month budget to cover January to June 2026, to be presented to voters for adoption on June 24th, 2026 at 9 a.m. and to schedule a regular annual town meeting in June 2026, date to be determined, at 9 a.m. to adopt a 12-month budget for July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027.
Second.
So,
That's just names, so it was.
Yeah, just the name.
So I
Those are
moved it
hyphens.
and Carol seconded it.
okay.
Yep.
All right, all those in favor? Any company? All right. Next item is networking field use agreement review.
This is the agreement that you had a copy of, at the previous meeting. To review. I can read this if you like, Ronald. The memo.
Oh, memo?
Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, so a draft field use agreement was reviewed by the Kenneth Workman Youth Sports Program, KWISP. President Kayla Levinsler and member Mimi Borman, Parks and Recreation Director Krista McDowell, Board of Parks and Recreation Chair Jamie Dion, and members, along with Facilities Maintenance Director Corey Alexander at a meeting in late March, as reported to the board in the town manager's report of April 1. With input from all interested parties, an updated draft was sent to legal counsel for review, with that draft being provided to the select board at the April 15 meeting for review prior to formal review and discussion at the regularly scheduled select board meeting of May 6. The only red flag in the agreement from our legal counsel is the fact there is no organization by the name of KWISP registered or filed with the state of Maine. The Belgrade Recreation Association, Inc. is an active corporation with the state, filing annually with the most recent filing April 1 of this year. And you have a copy of that. The town manager contacted the state to request the appropriate form to add a DBA to that filing, which would include KWISP. So it would be Belgrade Recreation Association, Inc., DBA Kenneth Workman Youth Sports Program. And that form was provided to KWISP if they wished to proceed with that process. The last agreement signed by the town and KWISP was in 2020. You have a copy of that. And then we have a perpetuity article from 1990. To proceed with the voting by secret ballot as directed and provided by statute on the following question. Shall the town approve the use of the town-owned parcel of land just north of Belgrade Central School, the Stewart Lot, by the Belgrade Recreation Association, Inc. as an athletic and recreation area, said field to be developed and maintained by said association under the administration of the Belgrade Recreation Committee until the town revokes this privilege by vote at another town meeting.
What did Kay was decide on the DBA?
I haven't heard anything.
We, since the last time, have been busy getting the season underway. This is by far our busiest time of year for all of us. We say this yearly, that this is our busiest time. This is not a great time for us for that. From what I see, the DBA is just to sign that contract, and that contract currently, I can't see myself signing that contract, so, no.
Okay.
If we have a non-town group, a separate organization using a town facility, do we not have to have some kind of lease agreement, some kind of written agreement with them?
Yes. Which I think it could be very simple. I think it could be the town, Corey's crew, mows the lawn, maintains the field. We will provide our insurance to the town. The town can collect insurance from Cal Ripken or whoever else wants to use the field and let us know who has approved insurance. And then we can schedule all approved things by the town and run the schedule. I think it can be that simple.
But isn't that basically what the agreement says?
Kind of, not really, like, there's a lot of like, we would have to provide a schedule by May 1st. I just got a softball schedule at 1 this morning, so I would already have broken this contract. It's very wordy, and I don't think that it needs to be. The other contract that was signed was way less wordy. It was very simple. It was 3 things. The town gave K-West $3,000. We maintained the field, we did the schedule, and it stated Article 4. That was what that first contract said. This contract looks like it's a whole lot extra. It's like a big ask, I think, to ask volunteers to collect other people's insurance, and like, I'm not an insurance specialist. I don't know who has appropriate insurance and who doesn't. I know we have insurance. I feel like it would just be easier if the town said, okay, yep, your insurance is good, now you can schedule with K-West. But I just don't think it needs to be.
And have you aired these concerns with the rec program and Kristen and the town manager?
I feel like I have.
We've gone back and forth with some. I haven't gotten a follow-up from the last time we were here. And I've sent numerous emails, so you have copies of those. From my standpoint, it's this document, unfortunately, this was signed in 2019 and we're in 2025. So unfortunately for all of us, the language that lawyers are looking for. From my perspective, I don't see this document as anything more than what Kate was asking for, so it would be helpful to know exactly what they don't like in it. When we rent, for example, the facility, the community, the Center for All Seasons, everybody has to sign a lease agreement. So we're not planning the birthday party for them. We're not telling them, what they can have for decorations and what they can't outside of a liquor license. But it's our liability. So from my standpoint, it's nothing more than that. Mimi and I have been communicating back and forth with scheduling. I don't think anybody is gonna be a scheduling police, but it's nice to have the communication there. So I think it would be helpful to know exactly the language, because some of it's just beyond us. That's stuff that Phil came back with that had to be in there to cover the gray area.
I don't know who created this document or where it came from.
Well, we took it from the original document. It went to the K-Wist meeting. They provided
You
notes,
got
which you have all of
This
that.
3-page from this 1 page.
This seems
It
to
came
be.
from.
This
way-
and added a lot of words.
From another municipality.
It came from the lawyer and another
This
municipality.
is way more
because I'm just-
complicated than it needs to be.
Because I had my
It's
husband
too
read this, who is insurance.
Yeah.
And he does insurance, and he has no idea where the 400,000 liability policy is
That was
from.
from Phil.
He said that's really unheard of, so I'm like, I don't know where this came from. Which kind of, he was wondering where that number came from. I don't know.
So it
Like,
came from Phil, the town.
came
lawyer.
from Phil. Okay.
And you want volunteers to sign a big legal contract that have no legal experience, then we're just volunteers.
That's
What happens?
What's just trying to organize.
And we
Well,
have
no,
our
we're-
insurance, and then if it's a program
I
or
don't think
something
anyone's
that's not.
Except
one person talking at a time.
Yeah.
So I,
I got
okay,
more questions. but-
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Why would they need a lease? It's voted in town law. It's voted in town law that they get to use that field. They don't need a lease. All they need to
Well-
really do is show proof of insurance.
Right, you gotta have the agreement showing the insurance and stuff.
Yeah, you
Yes,
don't
I
need
mean,
a lease, you don't
this
need
is
anything like
actually.
that. It's voted in town law.
Which is why I think this could be very simple and not all the dates that like I don't know why we would have to provide our schedule by May first. That's confusing to like, it just seems like another ask for people that are already doing a lot of work. And it's only a few people doing a lot of work.
So just to shed a little
Can you
light.
identify yourself, Jim?
Oh, sorry, Jamie Dion, Chair of the Board of Parks and Rec. Just to shed a little light on a little bit of history here. The original article was put in place for, at the time, Belgrade Recreation Association, now known as K-West, was put in place for, and like anything else, they wanted to build a field. We said, okay, yes, town voted on it. As long as like any other thing we do in the town is that you maintain that field. So if you're gonna build it there, you have to maintain it. K-West at the time, had maintained the field for years. They did all the mowing, they paid for all the mowing. When I was involved with K-West, we had a contract for the mowing for liability purposes. Fast forward to 2019, K-West didn't have the funds that they used to have. They used to have approximately 70,000 to 100,000 in the bank at the time. And the town offered the $3,000. $3,000 came and was put in the agreement, kept being put in the agreement, and then $3,000 was nowhere near the amount that they needed to maintain the fields. So at the time, the town said, okay, we will take over the maintenance of the fields. We did, and we want to keep this going. We put this agreement in place to write it to protect both sides. It actually protects K-Wist more than it protects the town. So there's accountability on both sides. If the town doesn't follow through with their side of things, K-Wist has this contract in place that allows them to say, town's not holding their end, we have our agreement. This went through the board, this went through the attorney. It is wordy, it's to protect the town, it's to protect K-Wist. Like I said, there's more protections for K-Wist in this agreement than there is for anybody else. The only protections the town has are for liability. It is wordy, I get it. That's what attorneys do, that's what they get paid to do. But in essence, I mean, if the attorney wants to explain and answer all the questions that K-Wist has, I think we can offer that, but I think it's pretty comprehensive. And I think it, like I said, it protects K-Wist more than it protects the town. It's just accountability on both sides.
I don't see how this protects K-West in any form. What are we gonna do? Take the field if you guys don't mow the lawn? Like, that's really all it's saying.
You can come back to the board of Parks and Rec, you can come back to the town and say that the town is not holding up their end of the bargain, they're not mowing the fields, and then we deal with it. That's what this whole thing was put in place.
Bruce?
I think it's very simple. You go back to similar agreement that there was before. The town maintains the field. K-Wist does the scheduling for the field, all the kids of the town of Belgrade. It's worked for all these years. That's what Debbie Workman, who started this whole program, wanted to be done with that. Plain and simple. That's how it was when I was a kid growing up, when that field got started.
That's exactly what the agreement is.
Not really.
But not a big attorney thing. I understand where they come from. They're volunteers. How you expect a volunteer to go out and spend hundreds of dollars for an attorney? It's not fair for the board of select persons to be asking this. And then the other thing, like I said at the last meeting, you guys should have been notified of this way before it came to this big. You guys should have been involved in this way back, not just, all of a sudden, have it sprung on you all at once. This should have been something in the negotiations and not during fall season, the busiest part of the year. I do agree with them. This is not the time to do it. let's do it in the wintertime, let's do it after ball season. You know, give them something temporary, get them through to after ball season. Wait.
January would be great. January would be a really downtime for us to do something like this, but it just always seems to come up in May, and we were lucky that it rained today. So the first email was sent back in January, just so we can be clear that we have been communicating this for some time. You guys have copies of all of those emails, so Lauren, can we just, instead of hashing this out again, what is Phil's standpoint on the agreement that was signed in 2019? Can we go back to something?
I don't think that came from Phil.
So no, that did not come from Phil, but that $3,000 has been in the agreement for over 10 years. And if I go back in history, it could be even longer. We used to pay more to the Belgrade Rec Association. The town of Belgrade never wanted to micromanage the Kenneth Workman youth sports program, but they allowed them the use of the field. And as long as it wasn't abused in any way, we paid that fee, because the $3,000 may not cover the mowing cost today, but it did cover the mowing cost for over 10 years. And I'm sure that I could go back even in history. We used to pay $5,000 when they came to us and they said they didn't need the money anymore. And we told them, do not, take the $3,000 towards the mowing cost, because we know that it cost. But they were doing the town of Belgrade a huge service in performing, and taking care of the youth sports programs in Belgrade. And I'm sorry, but I totally agree that the new agreement it's very complicated for a K-WISP, and maybe looking at it at another time, but let them move forward this year. Anyway.
Mary, why did the town stop giving the money to K-WISP?
So the town stopped after 2020. That was the last agreement signed, because K-WISP was no longer taking care of the mowing of the fields. So that's why it stopped. They stopped signing the contract in 2020, because the town now had to start mowing the fields. So, but the $3,000, that's been in place for over 10 plus years. And like I said, I could go back.
But not for the last 5.
Right.
Not since
There came
2020.
no written
Not since
agreement.
2020, right. The town of Belgrade started mowing the fields.
So Corey has $7,500 in his budget. That's what it costs. That's what we estimate for this year. So that, just so everybody has a perspective, we don't give them $3,000 anymore because the cost has gone up, and it was a big ask of them as volunteers to continue mowing and only receiving $3,000. So that's where that number disappeared. That's why it's not there anymore, Mary, you're correct. So after COVID, that's why the 2020 agreement is, we're referencing 2020. 2020 wasn't signed only by Anthony Wilson. 2019 is actually the last document that was signed that's in your folder. And that was by the entire board at that time. Then COVID hit, it didn't get signed again. Anthony
So in
left.
2020, that contract was signed by Anthony Wilson.
Yeah, that's
But it
what I said.
wasn't only by anybody else, Mary.
Correct. Only by Anthony.
Only by Anthony, but that's all it had to be signed by.
The
He
year
was
before
the town
it signed.
manager authorizing that contract at that time.
But the year before, it was the exact same document signed by Anthony Wilson with all of the same board members listed. All of the board members signed it, or excuse me, the president and the treasurer. And then the second year, they were left blank with no signatures. Prior to that, those
Right,
roles on.
we did not, and you are correct, we did not get the signatures of the K-WISP treasurer, president, all of that at that time. We did not get that returned to us. At that time, there was another person in charge.
And it was COVID, so.
I have a question. What's involved in changing the name so that it includes the DBA, the doing business as? Is that just filling out a form?
Yes.
Is it complicated?
No.
Because, I mean, we live in a very litigious world. And so I think the town and KWISP we have to protect both organizations, and if it takes a little bit of legalese, then it takes a little bit of legalese, maybe it can be simplified. But I mean, I think that, you know, we have to, do you have liability insurance?
Yes.
Yes,
we do insurance.
okay.
I
Is it
have
in the
an
name of
insurance
Kenwood?
packet. I don't know what entirely it entails.
It's
but
been,
It's
Who listed
the
on
same
the-
insurance for.
Is it
Hey, Whisper, is it?
Belgrade Rec
KWISP.
Association or KWISP? It's KWISP, so it's an organization
like
that
we're
isn't even
newly-
incorporated.
KWISP either, like
No,
our
no.
exemption certificate even from 1990 says Kenneth Workman. But the state park says Belgrade Recreation.
Right, but if you just fill out the form so that the name includes Belgrade Recreation Association doing business as KWISP.
Sure,
Then
and
that's-
sure, like, we're not opposed to like doing a DBA, but just to do a DBA to sign that contract, and just now is not, we have something every single
Right,
day.
but is there someone else in the organization who could take care of it?
No, we all either coach or, I mean, we're at the ball field every day. So, but, and do we have to do this in May right now when we haven't had it for 30-something years? I don't
And
know.
it's been under discussion since January, so.
Not,
I'm
not
just saying that, you know,
Not
not
any
a
of that, that was just brought up recently and it was said
Okay.
if we don't change our legal name, we could have access to the field removed. So it was.
I don't know
We
where that
did
came
not say,
from.
nobody, so if we can be clear, nobody said anybody was removing access to any field, so that's the first part we'd like to have on record. There was never that conversation. Actually, at the last select board meeting, when Kayla spoke, the board agreed that they could continue to use the fields and that we would discuss this at this meeting. So it was never said that, you know, anybody would have access removed. I think at this point, we need to make a plan. So what is the plan? I'm kind of a task-oriented person, so we need the DBA filled out, and that's up to the board to decide how long you wanna have for them to do so. It is busy season, so, you know, the 30, the 45 days, whatever it is. Lorna, if you could send that first document that was signed in 2019, removing the $3,000 from the, because we don't give the $3,000 anymore. And ask Phil if he can review that, and that simple document, if they're saying that that's better, then we can get feedback from him. As far as the scheduling goes, we had already verbally agreed, and all of the minutes and agendas and discussions have been that Mimi just forwards us the schedule, so that's been working fine. And Matt's been, and Chris have been sending us schedules if they get mixed up, so it's been working. Corey is hiding in the back, but he mowed today because he knew there was supposed to be a game, so. I think the communication moving forward is more solid than it's been, so if we can hash out this little detail, that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
I mean, it doesn't seem like there's anything that should prevent this from going forward, so.
Yeah.
So, on another hand. Okay.
I was just gonna say, I was in contact today with our previous president. And he thinks that he might have some more of the documents, to look at. Because we were pretty sure we had a 501(c)(3) at one point, which would change things as well. So we're still in the process of trying to dig out some of those old documents. So if we could even just get a little bit of time to get that if we can, and then if anything else had to happen. Keep me today, keep get on it looking for stuff, but I haven't.
I think the problem that Phil had with that was simply that if you do a corporation search through the state of Maine site. KWISP is not listed, Kenneth Workman is not listed. Belgrade Recreation Association Inc. is listed, and that's the organization that's doing the annual filing. So if you're gonna sign a legal document, you need a legal entity. So the town could sign a document with Belgrade Recreation Association Inc., that would be legal.
but they can't sign an agreement with Kenneth Workman youth sports program because at the state level, it doesn't exist. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I guess I just don't understand how we could have a tax exempt number. in
Right, but
Davis
you've
of
never
501.
filed with the state. You've never made it legal with the state. You have a federal number.
We have a tax.
The state
exemption.
doesn't, right, but you're not listed at the state level. But it's really easy to do the DBA, you're already filing as Belgrade Rec. So you could add the DBA and either would be legal after that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me that we need to figure out this DBA and to protect you from a lawsuit if you're under the, K-Wist is now part of that Belgrade Rate Inc. legally, then it just is one less hassle if somebody sues Kenneth Workman and it just gives you another layer of protection. But it seems like that's one thing to work out, and then the other is to look and see what we can do if we can find an agreement that is more amenable to everybody. And I think it's all workable. I think all of us want the kids of Belgrade to be able to play in that field.
Absolutely.
We just need to make sure that we have proper insurance and that we have people that we're protecting the town and we're also protecting the kids and we're protecting the organizations that use the field.
Mhm.
And I would think we could, get back to Phil and see what we could do and bring it back either at the next meeting or the first meeting in June and see where we are and what we need to do.
I'm not gonna lie, I can't come to every select board
No.
meeting.
When does your season wrap up?
Our season ends Father's Day weekend. We have like our last tournament. And then
So
we're,
that's middle of June.
yeah, I think
So
like June
End of
19th.
June would be better.
End of June would be the first moment that I have a day off from anything. So,
I mean, we're basically through the season, right? I mean, we say it's just starting, but the next thing we know, it's gonna be the end of the season.
right, and that's what I mean, like, right now, we need to be focusing on our teams and the fields and all the questions that I get daily from every parent and coach and.
Would there be an objection to adding the DBA just so that you're under the protection of the town and get that piece of it done? And that you could talk amongst yourselves and see if that's something you can do. And then that then gives, and I don't know if your insurance is in the name of Kenneth Workman or if it's the name
It's
of
in
Belgrade
Kenneth
Rate.
Kenneth Workman.
So you really need to do the.
So you need to
DBA.
let your insurance be insure the entities so that if you
So we
get
just need
sued,
to
it's
file a
fair.
piece of paper
Yeah,
that says.
That's
that.
all.
Yeah.
That's
All
all.
of it is paper.
So,
just a-
yeah, I don't think that's the issue. It just was the issue with how all of this came presented to us. We were just volunteers stepping in for this position with things that were left the same for the last 25+ years. And then all of a sudden, the last year or two, it's been an issue for whatever reason. It just felt like
Yeah.
you need to do this, you need to do this, and
I was saying, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Where do we go from here and move this forward and take care of the kids? And if the first step is getting that name added, so it takes care of that piece, let's do that piece and work on the other with Phil to a simplified agreement.
Can we say that we'll get the DBA done as soon as we can and not maybe put, like, we've had deadlines put on us for the last little while that we've met, and then maybe sometimes the town hasn't met, so can we just be kind
So
of
let's
lenient with
get
this?
it started and then just see how quickly we can get it done without putting all of you, I mean, that would be my recommendation.
And we've already voted to let them continue as is without disturbing anything,
Yeah.
so.
Right, but there is a liability at this point.
But they haven't.
We have insurance.
but why was there never a liability before?
There was.
There was.
It's been the same insurance.
There was. And can you identify yourself? Because I don't know, I don't remember your name.
Hey, West Treasurer, Megan Woodman.
Megan? Okay.
Okay, I've got a hand.
I was just wondering, like they just said. K-Wist it's in existence for 20+ years. What this year is the new factor that's created this whole rigmarole? I mean, it's a voluntary committee. Why is this all of a sudden? Well, especially since there's a 4 or 5 year lapse we're talking about now. What this year has created this is what I'm asking.
Can I speak on that? If you don't mind.
Can you identify yourself?
Yeah, Matt LaJoy.
What?
Matt LaJoy. I'm a coach. I'm on the board for
Okay.
Cal Ripken. I think the thing that's changed a lot over the last 3 or 4 years is you have a lot more groups involved now. It's not just Kenneth Workman using that field.
And of course, everybody steps up and shows the insurance.
And everybody does, but nobody knows where to go.
But
I'm
what we
struggling.
also found out was, when my lawyer looked at it, that Kenneth Workman has insurance, so what happens if somebody sues Belgrade Youth Sports? Because actually, that's you guys, and if you're not insured under that name, it can be a problem.
So another question that I have is, say, father, son just go out to use the field like they do, and one of them breaks their leg on their own time when they weren't scheduled through us, then whose insurance does that fall under?
That comes under the town of Belgrade.
The town of Belgrade.
That we all have insurance.
Seriously.
The only thing I would ask is that, they provide a copy of the certificate of insurance with the town name as additional insured, that's all I ask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
And that's
standard.
easy.
That's standard.
That's very,
Yeah.
Bruce,
I
Every
think you
single
guys
day.
should push this out, to let them finish this, this sporting season. Give them a week or two to get a ref in, even do your first and second meeting in July. That gives them a little bit of break, gives them a little bit of time to get together, have a meeting after the season's done, go over everything and then bring
Yeah.
stuff back.
by that time, they should be able to take care of that.
I can help do the DBA form if one of you wants to get with me. I'll help you do that.
And also, when someone's done business under a certain name and it's been accepted and used for so many years, that becomes rule of law, doesn't it? As just like if someone uses a piece of property the same way so many years, it's at the time, it becomes rule of law.
Now insurance companies, it doesn't.
We have insurance.
Like something
Somebody
happens,
can't-
they
somebody
sue
can't take the
everybody,
name
and
of
then
it,
people
but
fall
for
off
insurance,
because they don't pick
that
up
doesn't
liability.
apply.
It's a huge headache.
I like. The name is in existence, but it's not the same as Belgrade Recreation Association Inc., which is filed with the state, does an annual filing. Do you see what I mean? The state recognizes it.
So,
So do we have a path forward?
I
If we can, so,
Yeah.
we ready for?
yeah,
I was just gonna say, so if the past 10 years, if somebody got hurt during a K-Wisp event,
That could have.
you have no idea what would have happened if somebody got hurt?
Yeah, that could have been a problem.
Well, what's the point of them having to have insurance at all? If it's not gonna cover anything, or if it's in question of who's responsible? Why would they be paying money if it's not gonna, if it doesn't count?
well, their insurance, your insurance is in K-Wisp, right? But if they sue Belgrade Recreation Association Inc.
You would have to be like
That has-
diving real deep to, I mean, I feel like if you sign up under K-Wisp, aren't you gonna sue K-Wisp, or are you gonna like,
You're being way too logical.
Yeah.
I know,
When someone,
I hate that about myself.
when something happens, the lawsuit comes and they name everybody they can possibly name, and everyone has to defend themselves. And then they say, oh, this is, okay, there, no standing, this one, and then you get down to the people, but if you don't have insurance policy that's gonna defend you, you're defending yourself. So it's, all this is to
The
help get
article-
this through.
The article, the forever article we got,
Right.
is Belgrade Youth Sports, so.
So,
We have no problem doing the DBA, it's probably not gonna be tomorrow or the
No,
next
but
day,
let's-
but we're
let's
gonna work
move
on
forward
that, and then
and
we
get
can
this
work
moving,
on making a much simpler,
Absolutely.
we're gonna do A, B, C, and I think we can probably stop at D, because that's about,
well, there will have to be some legalese in there because lawsuits exist, but let's see what we can do to get it condensed down.
So when we say we're agreeing that they're allowed to use the fields, I just want everybody on the same page. They're allowed to use the fields. There's no repercussions. We're gonna revisit this in the as you said, the July meeting. So they have time to finish their season. And in the meantime, however.
I'll
the town
work
wants
with
to-
Megan. I'll work with Megan to get the DBA paperwork filed, filled out, so you can get it filed. So it protects you
And
as
then
soon as we can.
And the question about insurance, Mimi had forwarded me an insurance, I think, from a team, and Chris had saved me an insurance. So can we be clear of who you want collecting insurances? Because as Kayla said, that's kind of a big ask.
We have
It
a
come to us.
binder,
Yeah.
yeah, we have a binder that we keep for all of the
Yeah, I mean,
policies.
personally, I'll speak and then you can chime in. I think the town should be collecting insurance from the organizations.
Okay.
Once we have the insurance, then we let KWIS know if they're the scheduling, they met the standards, met what we required, and they're allowed to use the.
Right, and then we have a list of people that are approved by the town that
Right.
we can schedule, that's
Yes.
like way
That's-
easier for.
Yeah.
We can take that
Yeah,
later on.
it shouldn't be you
Yeah,
guys.
I didn't think so.
No, because then we can keep track of all that, yeah, very easy.
And we also need to find out from MMA, not our lawyer, MMA, who insures us, what they require
For limits.
for the limits.
Yeah.
You know, because the lawyer can say $10 million, it's what they require because they're the ones that back us up.
So Dan, because Mimi is the one doing the schedules right now, chances are she's gonna say to them, I need your proof of insurance, right? So they're gonna give it to her probably, and then she'll forward it to me,
Yeah.
and I just forward it
Yeah.
to you, so it's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just needs to come to the town.
Can I just
Mary?
say, so any proof of insurance has to include the town of Belgrade as an additional insured?
Yeah, we
So,
did mention.
yeah, K-WISP has always provided us a document naming the town of Belgrade as an additional insured. So any other group, and I don't know why any other group is using it, but anyway, any other group should also be doing the same. And we have those all in a binder.
And we have Cal Ripken and we have any of those other
There's a
groups?
lot,
Yeah,
there's
there's
a lot of travel
And
team.
it's not just you guys, it's not just Calvert and everybody else.
Yeah,
Bruce as the town plumber has to provide that same insurance and name us as.
We have a whole binder.
Every contract, anybody that does
Yeah.
work has to have.
Right.
Have that.
So just real quick to wrap up, just to be clear, we're just trying to protect everybody on the board. We have an agenda item on every board meeting that's a K-WISP update. K-WISP is always invited to our board meetings and is always invited to come and provide an update as to what's going on. This agreement's been on our agenda for a little over 9 months now. And we would love to have some input from the group and work together. So this, again, I'm not sure how it got misconstrued and blown out of proportion, but we want to work together.
Let's get through this spring season and then let's get it taken.
Move forward.
So we need a motion.
Did we?
We already said, made a motion last time.
We want to make a motion for the meeting, like middle of July, so we can get back on it, give them the time.
I've got a note, so I'll put that on
Put
the
it back
agenda,
on.
probably second meeting
You guys
in
are good with
July. Give them the 4th of July holiday.
Okay.
We don't want to make it difficult.
No,
We also have to do our due diligence in town too, so.
I completely understand, it's just, I don't think that most people, unless you've done what we do, understand how much work that this is, especially this time of year. So then to even have to like come here for like an hour and a half is like, whoa. We don't have a whole lot of free time. Unless it rains, and then we get a night off. But thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for your work that you're doing, kids. Yeah, for all of you.
It's a lot of work, you
Okay,
guys.
A lot of work, but the jerseys look really cool. So.
Okay.
All right, next is a special town meeting, we'll set the date for Warren.
I don't know, last time I left.
What else is on here? Anything else that includes me? Oh, sand and salt, that's me. I'm just kidding. No.
All right, let them file out and we'll move on.
Now that he's excited.
Some extent, I don't say. We block, food pantry, everybody else. Nothing. So I think it can be strong.
We've seen some.
All right, next item.
So at the regularly scheduled meeting of the select board on April 15, the board approved calling a special town meeting with 2 warrant articles to seek community support for construction of a new fire station. The board discussed the congressionally directed spending, CDS, grant applications and the need for due diligence and waiting until the spring of 2026 to see if we could secure up to 75% of the total project cost. And I've included the motion you made and voted upon from April 15 for those warrant articles, reaching out to legal counsel for their assistance on these warrant articles. A draft warrant has been prepared and is included for your review and approval. If the board chooses to proceed, you will need to set a date for that meeting. We suggest Wednesday, May 21 at 6:30 p.m. at the Center for All Seasons, and Kristen has confirmed that that is available. Senator Collins' office will need the minutes from that meeting to provide proof of community support of the project, similar to what we did last year. We have been in contact with them for updates. We should know sometime in late May if our project is chosen to move forward in the grant process, and I've given you a draft motion if you choose to use it. In addition, the building committee has requested a warrant article that would authorize the board to bypass the CDS grant process, to borrow the full project cost less reserve funds, and to begin construction in the fall of 2025. The draft warrant article for that is included in your board packet for review and consideration, and I've given you an updated warrant because there was some emails yesterday afternoon about what could and could not be done as part of the grant process, and Tom said that in his experience, you could not spend any money that was considered 25% match. Now, I think Carol, Barbara, Bruce, we were all on the Zoom call with Colin's office last year and went through this whole process, and there was never an issue of spending any of that 25%. It was always told to us that we could, that it still counted toward the match. We couldn't break ground, start construction. We couldn't spend any money we thought we were getting for grant funding because they would not reimburse. So when I saw Tom's email yesterday, I went right to my guy at Senator Collins' office, Chuck, and I forwarded what you had said. And I said, okay, I need written proof. I need written proof that we're okay. And so we went back and forth, had some phone calls. I told him I had actually had a phone call from Ed out of the Boston office for HUD last week, who said that we were good, there were no restrictions, good to go. So I told Senator Collins' office that, and he said, well, you should be okay then. I said, no, I want something writing.
Right.
And then he called me back and said, you need to stop asking questions. He said, if he told you you're fine, you're fine. I said, nope, gotta have something ready. So late yesterday afternoon, he called me back and he said, okay, they're both right. I said, well, what do you mean they're both right? He said, well, Ed, the HUD guy, was right, because if you're under HUD, there is no restriction. You can spend your 25% money, they don't care. But you're not under HUD, you're under ag. So in that case, Tom was right. You can't spend the 25% and think it's gonna count towards the 25%. So I said, oh boy, okay, here we go. So I got up about 1:45 this morning, started running numbers, and had several conversations with Wes from Sheridan today. Wes told me that they just bid a project. He has a good idea on cost per square foot. He feels very comfortable he can build the building at the 2024 budget level, which is the 6.3. We added just under 500,000 for 2026 construction, factoring in price increases. Everything at this point, he told me, is simply a guess because we are not far enough along in the process to nail down numbers. However, he did feel comfortable
for me to use the 6.3 number, for you. So the updated warrant reflects, the 6.3 number. It does not change. We would still bond 1.5 if we got CDS grant funding. And it would be the 6.3 less our reserve or whatever we've paid, which draws down that budgeted amount that we would need on Article 3. So you'd end up total principal 5.8, interest 2.9, your total debt service projected to be 8.7.
John Collins,
Yes,
okay.
yes, you knew his last name, yes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I redid all of this afternoon after I spoke with Wes. And this is good to go if you choose to proceed. And then you also have in your packet, the additional warrant article right behind the old draft warrant.
Question. What you say Wes said was, there wasn't gonna increase for next year or?
He said that he felt for certain we could build our building for the 6.3 amount, even if we waited until next year, especially if,
That's not what he emailed me.
especially if I spoke with him today. Especially if we use our reserve funds, because if we spent them, they don't count towards a 25% match. You could actually do what we had talked about previously, what I had sent out to you all about price protection, buying whatever we could ahead of time to save on any projected price increases, only up to whatever would be available in the reserve account. And of course, the board would have to approve that.
That's not the email he sent me and I sent it out to you when I asked him that question.
Yeah, I
He said it
spoke
was
to
gonna
him today.
increase substantially, like.
He said
5%.
everything is a guess.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
I can tell you, our generator's going up, all our stuff's going up. I don't see it impossible it's not going up by next summer. Unless something really changed. I really don't believe it.
All I know is what is the conversation I had with him today.
I had the same conversation, he told me something different.
Was that today, Dan?
I have the email, I sent it to you.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, you know, I realized it came in this
Unless
afternoon.
something changed.
It would have been nice if we as a committee could have got that forwarded to us too, so we could, you know, could have had that information before we came to the meeting. I mean, we don't even have that information.
I didn't have anything in email from Wes. We talked on the phone.
So there again, we don't have anything in writing. I mean, all we have in writing is what Dan got from Wes, and that's, you know, an increase of $600,000. 500, or I can't remember what it was.
I think it's between 500 and 600,000.
Yeah.
It's,
I mean, unless something changed that he found out, or does, price and design.
he did say that he did have a nailed down price per square foot, so he was comfortable with the 5.5 figure. The difference between the 6.3, that. It's like 400, I want to say it was 447,000 or something like that. Because it was 6.8. 6829030, and the last year's figure was 6.3.
So yeah, he said right here in this email, we suggest a 10% modification factor. The project is scheduled to start in May of 2026. This would result in approximate premium of 550,000 or a new overall construction budget of 6.1 million. That was on April.
But the total was 6.1?
Yeah, so I don't know why.
And he
But we're at 5.5 now.
Furnishing.
That's just the building.
That's just the building.
Right.
That's not the furnishing.
Yeah, furnishing.
Yeah, the construction,
construction renovation cost 5.5. That's on the budget. That's on the $6.3 million budget. Right? Is that what you have? 5.5,
No,
yeah.
he had it down as 550.
Right, 550 additional.
Not 550 additional. So that now they're saying it's not at, we don't.
No, it's not. The reason Laura's number is different is because this year we had to back out what we've already paid for the land and what we've already paid for the engineering and permitting. So that makes up the 200.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
So it's still in there.
yeah,
We've already paid for some.
yeah.
I think the other thing to keep in mind here is that we are just going off square footage numbers. We're trying to get the design advanced, we can get better numbers. What's important is like the relative difference between these options. So,
Right.
I mean, things could go a couple $100,000 either way or more, but it's the relative difference between the options that I think is more important. And I think we're confident based on the work we've done to date that Sheridan and their team is putting us in a good position to make sure we fund this project accurately. We've got good numbers. It's not like we just came up with them, so.
Right.
So these numbers that you got here on this revised one, these are correct.
From Sheridan, yes. These are the original budget amount. The only difference to the increase to the 6.8 is because there's no way for them to accurately project any cost. I mean, we're pretty far out. Even if you started this fall, you still don't know. They're doing the best they can, but we're not far enough down the road for them to nail down specific numbers. He said they did just bid a project, so he had a really good idea for
So that must
for our
use- must use
14,000
the current
square
bid
foot.
cost prices.
We haven't
Yeah.
done plumbing.
A 14,000 square foot building, he said I can build a really nice building for 5.5, so.
So on the new warrant article, it reflects the funding that we did with the initial grant request.
The 6.
You decreased it,
Yes, to 6.3.
so it doesn't match the numbers that we came up with.
Because we
The-
paid down.
The increase that Sheridan put in, 5% for contingency and 5% for a price increase, right? I think he told.
Yeah, I think it was 10%.
Yeah,
10%.
5% and 5%,
Yeah.
5% contingency, 5%.
That's in
price
the
increase.
newest revised.
No,
warrant? That was
that's
taken-
not in there.
That was removed.
Yes,
For that, for you talking for the fall.
Right.
Right, that place. Yep,
So this is appropriating the sum of $6,829,030 to fund the project, which includes grants from the state of Maine, CDS, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So is that the number that you're thinking it should be? I guess that's the question. Because that's what's here.
yes. Because we've already, I mean, we're down to the last payment
On the land.
for the land, and I think we've got 80 or
5,000.
85
I
left
just want
with
to make sure,
Sheridan,
yeah.
right?
The number that's here, you're in agreement with.
The total, yeah.
The total of $6,829,30. Okay,
it's still, like I said, it's an unknown.
and $30, 30 cents.
Where
The
is, where is that?
6.8 is the,
Article
right here,
two.
that's the old. That's
The old one.
I
The
gave
new one
you a
is
new.
6.3.
Should be a new one on your desk. too.
There's a new
Oh,
one
there's
on
a
your
new one on
desk.
my desk. Oh.
If your binder was
Yeah,
right
there
there,
we go.
no, I didn't put it in the binder, it was on your desk.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Do we have a copy of that?
It's the,
No.
oh, yeah, it's the same,
It's the same that's on you, that you sent out?
It's the same warrant, all the language is the same, except, the numbers are
Yeah,
the
we don't.
6.3 instead of 6.8. I'll make some copies of this.
So that took out the 10% or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So the 6.3
because
is
he-
with 10%?
No,
So that's because he said that we don't need it.
he said that he can build that building for the
Next year for
6.3, yes.
Bill and I know, we don't have everything designed.
Oh, I'm getting too far away.
You guys have like.
It's always an unknown, it's no different than when they built town office and you overran by what, 200
Right.
whatever it was.
What'd you do, come
Well,
back
it's a
twice
guess,
to
yeah,
get money?
We don't have everything spec out.
That's a problem.
You need to buy anything overseas?
No.
Oh, good question. That's the new one, that's what she just get, one just gave us.
You look,
Tell them what's in it.
I mean, 6.3 is.
Yeah.
Dan, that's a real question. Do you agree that anything overseas for this fire station?
0.8 here.
Oh, sure.
No, that's-
Shields, all kinds of stuff.
That's the one I
It
got.
has to be, Bill, it has to be, but it's a certain percentage, right?
So why do you?
Government funded it, service.
Well, because he says, he told me 10%, but then I think he's thinking that it's not gonna be as bad and we can do it. Well, yes. I don't.
How was the guy who?
That's why I'm-
So why is it 10%?
Oh, that's what we don't understand, we haven't heard that.
Maybe he has to be in the warehouse.
I don't know, why it'd be nice if we had it in an email. Then we don't.
You know, I will push her that. To make
Which
sure that-
she said he sent it over the phone, not an email. It'd be good to have a copy of that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's not gonna stick to that price. It's a guess, yeah.
I mean, that's.
This is what we have.
Do everything with 10%. Open it up. Did anybody else? I won't.
So I don't have that.
It was tucked in with my town manager's report.
So. We're not, you know,
Yeah,
I'm running here with the numbers in my head. Is there any way to confirm from him in writing that they're gonna stand behind this quote
This is the one
without the
that
10%?
was up here, but.
I'm sure if I asked him to put something.
I think it's a very bad idea to buy the 10%.
With the town manager's report.
Yes, my opinion, but.
We haven't finished backing the project, so none of this is finding at this point. This is all their best guess on their experience to try to get us there. So we can request this.
So 10% will put us into 7 million.
Okay, all right,
6.8.
but this, 6.38, okay.
I just, you know, so the board has it, and it was just on, I think it was on CBS News last week. I can't remember which town, it's down southern Maine, similar fire station. Similar set square footage, same amount of days, same amount of sleeping quarter, everything is about the same. And that budgeted station is $7.6 million, so that's the only reason I'm a little worried about not having that 10% in there, but. That has gone out to bid and that was going to the voters for that amount of money.
Where was that?
Southern Maine.
Southern Maine. We're different from Southern Maine.
All those southern Maine rates, you know.
I just, you know, I just don't wanna see the same thing happen that happened to this town office. We go knocking on the door saying, hey, we need another $600,000. I mean, Frank had it right there in the article.
And I think the other thing we're trying to discuss, or at least make sure that taxpayers and voters are aware of, is the added risk with time. I'm not lobbying for one way or the other, but what's been expressed to us is the longer we put this off, the less control we have over cost and locking things in. So we're trying to make sure people are aware of that, basically, because we were told originally, if you can lock in now and move forward, we have more price control, but if you're gonna push it off, there's risk, and we just felt, I don't want to speak for anybody else, I felt the voters should be aware of that perceived risk, whether it's real or not, it's there. And that's kind of where the added 10% came in, right? Just the fact that.
But if we get the grant, then we only have to bond $1.5 million as opposed to.
Well, but if you don't, then you're risking $600,000 at the chance of maybe getting a grant for $4 million, right? So that's, I think, for the taxpayers to make a decision.
And the other thing is if we still keep the 10% factor, we're gonna have to bond more than 1.5 million, because you're gonna have to. I don't know what to say, because we kept the CDL grant the same amount, right, Lorna?
The CDS grant?
Yeah, CDS grant.
They're trying to put us through at the funding level from last year. They have 2 years worth of applications they're trying to
Right.
fit in one grant year. They want to move our project forward.
Correct. So if we get that and I don't have the numbers in front of me.
I mean, 4.5 million is significant.
Yeah, right, but if we needed to add that 10% to get us to the 6.8 million, we're gonna have to, if we go the grant way, we're gonna have to bond more, so instead of the article saying 70, the grant doing 75% of the funding, it's gonna be less than 75%. Does everybody kind of get what I'm saying?
Well, and
I know what you're saying.
they could come back and say, we're only gonna give 50% because so many people want it. In either event, we'll have to go back to the town and say, we've
But
got.
we're trying to,
X
we have the opportunity right now not to have to go back to the town. We can fund this at the full amount. Either start building fall or wait for the grant to come through. I'm not going either way, but if we wait for the grant to go through, let's make sure we have in this article the right funding. So it is all set when we go to a special town meeting, that it's all set to start funding. That's the only thing I'm saying.
I'd be more comfortable with these numbers with the 10%, because I'd rather be able to I'd rather go back to the town and say, we didn't need to spend all the money.
Exactly.
And then I can go back and say, we need more money.
Well, especially if they're using the funding for the grant, but our last grant is gonna not be enough money to.
Right, that's what Bruce was just saying, so instead of us.
You're gonna go back down to get the 500,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, it's up to you guys how you wanna do that. But- So why wouldn't they go with the new amount
I'm sorry.
on the grant? How come they wouldn't go with the new amount? Projected.
Because they're trying to fit 2 years worth of grant applications into one funded year of projects. And they're trying to fit as many in as they can. So we were asking for an amount, much higher than what we asked for last year. They asked if we could move the project forward if we received the funding we would have gotten last year. So if you say no, they'll take you out of the mix. I said, no, we can make that work, right?
Just, we may end up having to pay a higher portion.
If it even counts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Dan, I have the fear that they're trying to do 2 years worth of grants. That makes the budget inflate, the federal budget inflate more. And that's the last thing that they're trying to do down in Washington. They're trying to cut the budget, not inflate.
They only get so much money, so they're trying to fund as many projects as they can with that bucket of money.
If they get the bucket.
If they get.
Okay, so what number are we gonna use?
I think we ought to go back to add the 10% in now.
So is that the first one we looked
Yes,
at?
yeah,
It's
that's
the original one in the binder.
That's the one
Yeah.
that you find.
The one you said don't get rid of.
The one I said,
The one you said, don't put too far away.
You may not need it, but it's nice to know that. We have the
Save that one too.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the one that says appropriate the sum of $6,829,030.
Yes.
Just so I'm on the right page with everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so but the number 6829030 is not what we submitted for the grant.
It is what we submitted for the grant, but they're only going to put us through for funding
Okay,
at the
Okay.
level they would have given us last year.
okay, but they do have that number.
They do,
So-
yeah,
So we're
that's
not
already been-
contradicting
Yeah,
ourselves.
no,
Okay, okay.
no, that's already.
So
been-
what's gonna happen, instead of us paying 25% or whatever it is, we may be paying 30%.
Right.
And
So you
when,
did apply for the grant for the right amount. They
Yes.
just said that you're not funding. Well, I didn't understand that.
yes, the grant was applied for at the proper amount, the 6.8.
Okay, I didn't
I
understand.
didn't understand.
Yes.
So you just said that. I was very
Yes.
confused. Like you
Yes,
changed the
but they-
numbers and.
But they're moving our project forward as part of the group that they want
Okay.
funded. But in order to, they only have one bucket of money, so
Well, I
they're trying to
understand
fit
that.
as many projects
Right, so
in
yeah, I
as they
understand that.
can.
They're taking 500K from everybody that applied, so that they.
So they asked
But you
if we,
applied for the full.
right, they asked if we
They
could
don't
move
know.
our project forward at the same, that 4.7 or whatever it is from last year.
Right, so we're just gonna, one, take the 75% out of that, the wording of that article.
It's not.
It's not in this one. Well, I don't know what the,
Well, the old
what does the
one.
original one say 75%, Carol?
I don't see a percentage.
It doesn't say a percentage.
Okay.
I think
perfect.
it's the same
Okay,
percentage.
as long as it doesn't say percent, we're good. Just, you gotta change what you're gonna be bonding, that's all. If you go with this CDS grant, how much
Okay,
that bond is gonna be.
so,
It just says anticipated.
right,
Right.
so are we ready for a motion? Is there more discussion on these numbers?
Makes sense. now.
Yeah.
Well, I think Bruce was questioning whether the $1,500,000 should be increased. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Because you're only getting approved for the CDS grant of 408, 4 point, well, I don't have to correct number, 4.7 million. So you gotta make up the rest of the difference to get to the 6.8. Either by the through the capital reserve, which would, and
See, that's where it's difficult because,
we can't use the capital reserve.
well. So if you spend that money, what you're doing, because when we get the grant, you have to complete a budget at that time. So they take your budget at that time and then you're 75% and 25%. So think in terms of if we've got a budget here and we're spending from reserve, well, that lowers that budget amount. Yes, we get less, right, the 75% amount. But we're not having to bond as much because we've reduced the budget. Does that?
Right. I
Does that make
understand that, but I think the wordage in the article needs to say we need to, we need, how we word the bonds, I wish I had that.
So this says anticipated amount of bonds to be issued, 1.5 million. Are you saying that that
We
should be
Increase.
2.1.
2 million? I mean, that,
I think Sarah had it right, 2.1, I don't have the math in front of me, but
We're 6.8 minus 4.7. I don't wanna round that up to 4.8. That's 2.1.
2.1.
It would be closer to that amount that you see, the 204,294, correct? Is
right,
that what you're looking at? On Article 2?
that's our match, but then
Yeah.
we would take this, the 585 off that.
Right, you couldn't reduce that amount by the 585. Where it says the reserve account, we're gonna use that because we're committed for 80-something thousand left on Sheridan. We're
Okay,
committed
all right,
for
that's
for money, so we have to use that money. So, but it's reducing what we need at the same time.
Okay. So down to the financial statement, what's the anticipated amount of bonds to be issued? We can make the other numbers back into it.
You can change C to, instead of 1,500, you can add another 5 back into it or 600 back into it and say 2,000 or 21. Or it's not
I mean,
2,000.
that's, if that's never
2
going
million.
to change. We need to agree so we
2
can
million
vote on
or
it.
2.1.
Right.
So that includes, right? And you're still, that allows us to still spend what we need to out of that reserve and it doesn't affect.
And if we don't need 2.1, we don't get a bond.
Right, you don't have to, right, you don't have to spend it all,
Okay, so
but it allows you to go up to that amount.
So what we need to approve tonight is that should be 2.1 million we're bonding. And you'll have to correct the principal and the interest underneath that,
Yes,
but we have to vote on the article tonight if we want to have the
yes,
special
we've gotta
meeting.
get it posted, yeah.
Right,
So the total is gonna be 3,016,000 on the seven.
Where are you? Oh, that, I can do that, the total, that, this is just for illustrative purposes for people. Yeah, whenever you do bonding, you have to provide this little financial statement to make it legal. But I can update that and so.
you
the
can
board
update
will-
that tomorrow.
Yeah, I've given you a separate signature page in the sign
Okay.
folder. So once you
So you need
do
to go
everything, I'll
here and
fix
correct
it.
these numbers in the article.
Those-
1.5 up in here.
Yeah, are you looking at the new one or the old one?
This is the old one.
Okay. Yes, I'll fix what needs to be fixed on those.
Okay, so if our motions should say that we approve article number 2 and use 2.1 is the amount to bond,
Anticipated amount. Anticipated.
then we
amount.
could go ahead and approve this. Everyone in agreement?
Yes.
The financial statements.
Financial
She's gonna,
statement,
she
you
said
can
she'd
correct that.
update it.
Yeah, I can update that.
So I move we approve that as article 2
As amended.
as amended.
Second.
With the 2.1 being the anticipated amount of bonds to be issued. And adjust the numbers appropriately.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right, so all those in favor? 5-4, 0 against. We still need to approve Article 1, which is the like the moderation and stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know? Good.
That's, we have to have that
Still an
on,
article.
we have to have that on every.
You still got Article 3, you're gonna.
So Article 3. That's if the town is not worth the grant.
Okay, this
Well, I have a question about Article 3.
Yes,
Did the lawyer say there was no way to combine 2 and 3 together?
no, have to be separate.
That's not that one.
Because we did an article last year, that gave us authority and we did not ask for, we didn't do a separate article to bond the full amount last year. We only did it for the CDS grant so that we could get that to them to show them that we had community support. So this time around, we're asking for the CDS grant article. But then we're also asking if we don't get the CDS grant, can we bond the full project so that we can move forward? So 2 separate articles.
And they can't be combined.
No, that came from, I tried to get Lee
Yeah,
to do it, but he was just like, I don't know why you wanna do that, it's too confusing. Separate articles, Lorna, I said, okay, Lee, he's been doing this forever. Yeah, he's actually a good guy.
Okay, so what are the numbers we need to change in Article 3?
Needs to be just the same amount of.
Right, we've gotta,
And then you update.
it's actually that one should actually be
Yeah, so
okay.
6.8.
I say, I think that was okay. It's
That was okay, because if you're not using any grant
Grant, then we
funding,
would get this.
you're using your reserve account, right?
Yeah.
And that comes right off your budget amount.
Okay.
So that one is good to go.
Okay. I move we approve Article 3 as presented.
Second.
All right, any more discussion on it? Yeah, all those in favor? 5-0.
Okay.
And then we have what, Article 4?
I didn't give it a number. I got it ready, so you will. Yes, yes.
Should be. Up to. Should be. do we have discussion on the last article on bypassing it all and bonding?
This would be to go and just bond the whole thing right now.
For fall construction, yeah.
And this would stay at the lower 6.3, so that's without the 10%.
That's without 10%,
Correct.
so you're comfortable with that number?
But they told us for this year, we
Yeah.
need that 10%.
The 6.3. I feel that we need to see the grant process through. And we just stick with articles 2 and 3 and hope that, you know, that there's so many unknowns. But I just feel that if we have a chance of getting the 75% and only have to bond 2 million instead of 6, that I think that's doing our due diligence to the taxpayers.
Say, put it on there and let the taxpayers make a decision, not the 5 of you. That's why we have a town meeting. Is for the town, for the taxpayers or the governing body of this town to make a decision.
Like the select board votes on what to put on the warrant.
They may vote what put on it, but if several articles are brought to you guys every year to go to town meeting, and you guys do approve or don't approve, you guys recommend, and Mary can answer this better if she's still on there, I don't know, but you guys recommend, and you know, if it's a financial thing, the budget committee recommends. But there's some articles that you guys just recommend, you guys don't approve, you guys recommend. I just think that, you know, you should throw it to, you know, you're doing a special town meeting, what times it gonna be if you throw, you know, it's a taxpayer making a decision on the article, not the board. I mean, you know, the taxpayers could say no, I mean, it's the taxpayer making the decision.
Or
What's funding this whole thing gonna do to everybody's taxes? How much is it? $6.7 million or whatever it is that you guys are looking for. And I agree, we need a fire station. But we have a grant that we can hopefully get. And when we argue at a town meeting for cutting $20,000 out of the budget because that's not good for the town people to be paying taxes on $20,000. But yet we want to spend $6.8 million and just totally forget the fact that we have an opportunity to get a grant. That's not good taxpayer money spent, well spent whatsoever. What is that gonna cost us for a taxpayer for just that? Say nothing about the rest of the projects in town that will not be done. Because we don't have that kind of money as a town.
We're probably looking at around $1 right now for just our regular budget increase. So that's $1 per 1,000 evaluation.
That's not including this
That
whatsoever.
does not include that. No, you're looking at another 50 to 75 cents on top of that.
It's not good,
Per
not good
1,000
politics
of
whatsoever.
valuation.
I speak?
Yeah, I disagree with you some on that, some, it's your right to do, you know, do that, but we keep putting this down the road, it's not getting cheaper, we already got denied a grant. Everybody said, oh, you look good, we're gonna get it, well, we didn't, now we're gonna do this again. So good business, you're saving the taxpayers money over the years. You wanna kick a can down the road 5 years, I'm telling you right, you're gonna need this thing. Volunteerism is dropping, the age is up, you're gonna be hiring people if you want medical and fire coverage, and you need this bill. How you wanna do that? You wanna wait a couple of years, cost you an extra $1 million, is that good taxpayer? I don't think so either, so.
So the other thing is, Lauren, can you explain, you said that our regular budget is gonna increase our taxes by $1 a thousand? I thought we had a very minimum increase on our budget for the taxes this year.
We got school budget numbers and we got county
Okay, let's count the
budget.
school budget. not
We've
the
got those
municipal.
updated numbers, so Rob's been working, it's not firm because they haven't finished up
I
the,
thought you was talking on the municipal budget.
no, I'm talking
Okay.
when we do our tax
Okay.
commitment, setting the mill rate. So you're looking at about $1.
Okay.
Right now, we're at $9.50, so if we're $1, it'll go up to $10.50, and if we bond this project, we'll go up well over $11 per
Okay.
thousand.
So just for the record, if we start construction in the fall of this year, it's not 6.8 million, it's 6.3. Just so it's on public record.
Right, but that's still 50 to 75%.
Right.
Cents.
No, I just wanted it beyond, cause it is
I wanted
being
to-
thrown out at 6.8
Yeah.
million for this fall build, it's not at 6.3 million.
Right.
I just want that, so it's
Still
all
a lot of
public
money,
record.
I agree.
Yes,
And I don't want that.
That's why I nailed West
I
down
mean-
on the cost.
And the other thing, this committee, we're all
Because he said we
taxpayers.
could do it at 6.3.
Yeah, we all pay taxes too. You know,
So we're gonna put this before a special town meeting where you'll get 50 people to show up for a special town meeting. Instead of having it go before a full town meeting where more people can do it.
Why would more people do it at a full-time meeting?
Because there'll be other things, you know darn well as I do. Look at the last fire department meeting. How many showed up? 50 people?
no, we had.
I thought.
Yeah,
There,
Dan, is there any way you can quantify how much we're gonna be saving in our tax, or insurance by having this fire, department?
I'd say it's not change that much, having, I mean, we already got full-time people during the day.
No, but I mean, house insurance.
We've already got that down, we've been working hard at that, so that's a down, nothing's gonna change with this, because we already have the stations, so that. I don't see it affecting, we've already got it down to like a 6 or something. That's about as low as we can go without, because we don't have hydrants, we have hot water.
Sarah, they're just replacing the depot station as
Yeah,
far
so
as.
physically, we're
insurance-
just getting.
Insurance looks at it, you've got a depot station, which doesn't meet our needs, and we're replacing it with a new depot station that does meet our needs. So it's not going to affect our.
it's all
insurance
based on
rating.
mileage, how far it is from the station.
Yeah, I thought for some reason that was gonna affect our insurance, and then we'll keep our insurance. I guess the message was that our insurance is not gonna go up.
No.
Yeah.
So, but it was not gonna go down.
No matter what, you got a special town meeting for the grant, so.
So-
Well, you can't,
Unless you
Yeah.
want.
I was
water
just trying
and fire
to
hydrant.
figure out a way to tell the taxpayers that, we're doing this, but you're saving, we're gonna help you saving in your insurance premiums or something like that. I don't know how.
no, I wouldn't, there's not much that would do, but we've already done a lot to bring that down.
I think just to reiterate, and again, speaking for myself, the idea here with this next article is just to give people an informed choice so they can cast their one vote. I know how I'm gonna cast my one vote, and that's all I'm asking for, and that's kind of what we talked about, so. That's it, I didn't wanna make that decision for the taxpayers, so we said, here's our options, here's the costs associated with them, they each have their own, gives people three choices, that's the idea. We talked about public meetings to try to, just time. You had time to inform people and what we can put out, just to be able to make informed decisions, but everyone can catch their own choice after that, once we know what we're voting.
The one concern I have, so I'll be the bad person. The one concern I have is that you have a town meeting and most of the people that came to the special town meeting were for a new fire station. They came because they wanted it to be. So you get people that are involved in that and I don't want to say you pack the meeting, but you get a lot of people that are focused on this. And I have friends of mine that I said, we're looking at this and they go, what do you mean? That we're not going to get the word out to the greater town of Belgrade. That there's a chance that a vote will be taken that will bond for the full 6.3. It's not that I'm against having the vote. But at this meeting, without a lot of word ahead of time, there'll be people who will not realize that that's really one of the things that could happen. And that concerns me. That they don't say, oh, they snuck that through on us.
We're not trying to.
No, so at our last meeting that you was at, that was one of the biggest things that we said, and that's why Tom sent out the information, so it could start getting out to the public. I don't think anything's gone out yet, I don't think anything's gone on the website, anything, that's why we did this, so it could start getting put out. We're gonna be ended up with the same complaint that people had about at town meeting, that stuff didn't get advertised.
We couldn't advertise it, until we know what the warrant is.
No, you can advertise what the town is working towards. You can't, you can't say the article, but you could say, we're working towards a special town meeting, blah, 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 start getting the word out there. I mean,
Well, that's water over the dam,
right,
so.
but again, here we are again, water over dam, 2 meetings in 1 year, I mean, yeah, I mean, Carol, it may be water over dam, but Carol just brought up that people don't know, that's why I'm answering the question to that.
Can I ask? So you have 3 weeks, right? We're saying May
Yeah,
21st.
yeah.
So I'll lay it outside. What can be done between now and 3 weeks? If you agree on this right now, yep, we're gonna let the voters have it. What could be done between now and then to get the word out to people? So as Carol said, it doesn't appear that we're packing a meeting. We're trying to educate people between now and then. I don't know the answer, so I'm asking.
Well, we talked about having meetings and offering it up, but I agree with him that they don't come to those. Well, in the informational meetings, nobody ever comes to those. I don't know how we can get it out to the people. We, like we do a summer meeting there and we get like 10 people.
Do you know, or maybe Mary, if she's still on, what's it cost us per tax bill to send out a tax bill?
What does it cost
Yeah,
us to send a
to
tax bill?
post, to send out a tax bill.
Gosh, you're what, 70 cents? Or so a piece for an envelope now. Times 3,000, 3,200, 3,300. You've got to figure probably, and you've got printing, so you're probably looking at $1 a piece. I would guess, somewhere in that
So
range.
$3,500 to send something out to every taxpayer.
Right. I mean, you can do every door
If
direct.
it like a every door, whatever it is,
Yeah.
You know,
every door
resident
direct.
resident.
I'm just wondering if
Remember what
maybe
the cost was?
we ought to invest in this, spending $3,000 and send out a copy of every single one of these warrant articles to every taxpayer, saying, this is the date we're doing this.
It's important that you be there.
It's important you decide.
That would work.
Travis.
I think you can't just send out the warrant articles though.
No,
It needs to come with education on the current status of our fire stations, because people are gonna read the warrant articles.
and their eyes are
see
gonna
the
cross.
costs associated with that.
Yeah, and that's fine,
They
but
won't-
put it on a letter and send, this
They
is
won't
the
see
3
our-
articles.
Our fire
and
station.
explain why it's happening.
So if you just do the grant one now, and you say you wanna have a regular town meeting, you're talking, January is a limited town meeting apparently, right? Coming
It
up.
will be a regular town meeting.
So then you'd be into July or June,
January.
January.
No, but after that, if we
June.
didn't do it then, because if you say that's a limited one too, you're only voting on 6 months.
Would these warrant articles allow the town, if we don't get the CDS grant, whether we.
Right.
I mean, we might hear in August that we don't get the grant. This authorizes the town to move forward and bond the
Well,
whole
I'm just
project.
going on Corey's thing that, saying that nobody's gonna be at these town meetings to vote. And that we're trying to slide something by. To be at a legitimate town meeting, you'd be June of 26.
January is the regular
Well, see,
town
but
meeting.
Yeah, how many people are you saying,
No,
how
it's
many
a,
people are gonna come for a 6-month budget?
but it's a bare bones
But
budget.
it's-
This
It's
is.
still
this
a
is
regular town meeting.
That's what I'm saying, nobody's gonna come.
There's nothing to prevent us from running a special town meeting in August with a lot of publicity. Don't forget, you could always run another one. I'm not saying we should. Or we actively look
We
to
need
get
the
this
grant one
information
now.
out now.
Yeah.
We need to do the one on May 21st to get for the grant. So maybe Dan's right, we spend the money and do either an every door direct mailer, which will cost us probably $1,600 or $1,700, the ones that we've done. Or you send a regular letter, which will cost you twice as much.
And we do.
It says, here's what we're looking to do.
And I have no problem with that, I mean, and then taking it out of like the select board's
Right,
agency fund that we
and
have.
if so, we need to
Because we
put
want
that
the
letter
people
together,
to be
get it
educated.
done, and
Right,
get it
that's what
out.
we want. Right, absolutely.
But timing matters. I think Sheridan told us if they don't have an answer by like July, then we're 2026.
But he said, what they're saying is do that.
Send out this letter right off.
Right now,
Before
for
the
May
special
21st.
permit.
We ought to have in that letter too, that we can hold some informational meetings where we can be wherever.
Right.
Or-
Library
or-
here.
I'm away next week.
Or even
That's okay.
if they're willing,
We can do
if
it.
you
We
guys
can
are
get it
willing to
written
take
this
calls,
week.
have the phone number, that they can call and ask questions. You know, somebody can ask some, answer some questions.
We could have a link to our slideshow that we had.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, just-
or link to the website, you can post all anything you want about why you need it on the website in a certain spot, but we need to get the information out.
Yes, absolutely.
Sarah,
This is actually very providential. I was gonna leave right after the RSU presentation. And I've been hanging around just because I wanna do a public announcement about the May 22nd district budget meeting. And we're gonna be the towns, 5 towns are gonna be voting on 17 articles. So if we're doing this for the fire station, we can bundle it up with information for the RSU as well. Because it's the next day, and the day after. This one will be on May 21st, the other one will be on May 22nd. So it'd be absolutely awesome.
What time is that meeting?
That meeting is at 6 P.M. at the Performance Arts Center of the Messalonsi High School. It's Thursday, May 22nd, and we are voting on $45 million for the RSU. So
Does that go to the taxpayers after? So you can have another vote for that too? with-
that, we have the referendum, but at that meeting,
Right, but I'm just trying to incorporate our fire department with the town vote on the school budget.
sure,
That would be a lot of people who go to that. But when will that be?
that will be the day after your meeting. So it's
May
the day-
22nd is
on
the
the
tax
23rd.
meeting.
But the June
That's the
is when we
fact.
vote on the.
June is when we
I'm
vote on
talking
the
the
school.
town.
budget.
No, hold on. And that's part of what happened through the pandemic. We forgot about this process, all right? We have 3 tier of approval for the school budget. The first tier happens at the school board, that happened in April 5th. The first week in April usually happens. Then the second tier of approval is at the PAC meeting on May, third week in May. And that's where all the town, it's the equivalence of having a town meeting, but for the district. We're voting on the warrants, on the article. We are proving the numbers right there. If we don't like the numbers, we can blow the numbers. So, you know that Article 1, that is 21 million, we don't want 21 million, we want 20. We can change it. We have the power to do that. So that said, there's a third tier that happens in June, when it's not everybody in the fully voting, but it's secret ballot. So that's what we call the referendum. So that's the last chance that everybody in the district has the opportunity to pass the budget or not. It's a yes or no. But that second meeting is a second tier of approval. And the towns have forget about that. Every year what we get is 40 people, and is half of them are administrators and the other half are their spouses. So the towns have to be aware of that.
If you want to make any changes to the budget, you would do it at this PAC meeting.
Right, but doesn't it go to the town?
Yeah, in
June.
And then it goes to the town people.
No,
At that point, you vote yes or no. At the
But it's
PAC
also too
meeting,
late
you
for
can
what you
alter
need
it.
for this grant, so that's why we wanted to bundle it with that, and we can't because this has to be done.
Okay, so
I was trying to get more people.
So I honestly, I think we should send out a letter or some kind of mailed information to every taxpayer. So it just, it's a good investment.
we get it written in the next couple of days and get it out. Which is a lot of work.
I helped out.
So does that mean you're leaning towards having the third, sorry, it's getting wait, so you're gonna add that third thing on vote on the 21st and allow this.
We have to vote on it.
Okay,
I don't have a problem with that, and the third thing, as long as the people are educated.
I just think the federal grant is a gamble. And I don't see why not letting the taxpayers choose which way they wanna go with that. Cause they're taking a gamble on spending more money, or I know that the grant would be a huge benefit. But we have no guarantees that we're gonna see that.
We can vote yes, yes, no, or whatever,
Right.
Do we don't have any kind of timeline on when we might find out?
March, is it usually by March or April of 26, we would know.
Well, we'll know.
We'll know if we
We'll know
don't.
before that,
move
if we're
forward.
approved for funding.
Well, no.
Last time we got approved,
Yeah, you make the next
waiting
step.
for money.
You don't
and
know
then
if
the
we get
money was
funding,
there,
we
right.
made it to the last step, the last year, or this year, and we just didn't get funding.
Right.
And that's the important part.
That's an important distinction this year with the multiple articles is that hopefully, no matter what, we know whether we have a project or not.
Right.
Because if, say, Article 2 is the only one that passes, everything stops. We can't move forward in good faith with our contractor, and we have to wait until we see if we get the grant and then figure out when we can ramp up and start construction again. So at least this way, hopefully, something passes, we know we have a project, we can get it designed, bid, and ready to build when that money comes in or whenever the town decides they want to start.
Corey,
Well, like I said earlier, I know it's a gamble for a grant, but it's a good gamble. Because we've got projects coming in this town that are gonna be shoved to the side that the town people aren't gonna wanna pay for. What are we gonna do in the Center for All Seasons? Continue to let it rot down around our ears until it's not usable? There's work at the transfer station that needs done. I just don't see that it's a good, wise investment to spend all that money, whether it's 6.8, 6.3 million, without taking the chance to get a grant.
We also have the paving bond coming up.
Paving law. We can't put everything else on hold in this town and not plan on the rest of it.
how long has the fire station project been happening?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, we've been working at it a long time and put these other projects, I mean, we've been working on those buildings over the years. Put a lot of money into them buildings.
So you guys get to decide.
that I'm in favor of sending out the voters,
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean, I like option 3, I honestly prefer. Trying to see if we get the grant, but
We do too.
you know, as one person, it's not really up to me.
I think if town people should have all three put in front of them and
Let them make
let them make the decision.
Then we know where we stand.
Then-
If they say
then-
no, then we have to start, go back to the drawing. board.
Yeah.
And especially if we don't.
And let
get
them ask, let people ask the tough questions and
Article 3 gives you the authority to bond the project if we don't get the CDS grant.
I think they're referring.
Article 3. Article 4 is the one that.
You guys
bonded immediately.
focus on putting that.
What is Article 4 says again?
Article 4 says, we're just gonna bond it all right now, we're not gonna try to get a grant.
Everybody else.
Oh, that's gonna be voted down, right?
What's that?
I would expect that would have a harder time
Again,
of being.
I think everybody needs to be informed, so I think we need to make the investment. To send something out to everybody saying, these are your 3 choices. Please show up.
Right.
Well, you take, I mean, I'm trying to be positive, you know, you take the chance with the 2 and you hope for the best, but I just don't see grants happening. Things might change in the next 6 months, a year, but
Yeah.
we don't know. But I just know cost of material is not gonna go down, so.
The only good thing about funding all those grants is that every congressperson and a third of the senators are up for election in
That is
November. And so that's 470 odd people who are gonna wanna be able to go back to the district and say, hey, I got you something.
That is a good
So
point.
there's a better chance this time than the last time.
I mean, and that's,
All the houses up for election.
I mean, and that's the decision you guys have, you know,
Right.
and we put it off and then we have to go back and fund the whole thing, and now it's 7 million or 7.5 million 2 years from now, and
Yeah,
then you gotta say, hey, we tried, and
It won't be
That's
2
your
years, it'll be a year, because we'll certainly know by this time next year whether we have the grant. So if we don't get the grant, then we can,
right, but if the
Move right
town
ahead.
doesn't vote that second article in, then we'd be back in the garden. And it could be another year.
we can do a special meeting anytime.
Yeah, well,
When we don't get.
but if they already
if we
voted
don't
it
get
down once, they could vote down no on both. Or just say yes for the grant and no on the other one, right? Is that how it's gonna be? written?
No one all.
So they could vote it, it's grant only. If you don't get the grant, you're gonna be another year.
they could vote no on all of them, yeah.
That's right. They can say no on all of them. Just
Then
so you be aware, you know, you just, that's all we're saying, is we want people to know that it could cost more down the road. Well, it will cost more, yeah. There's nothing cheap.
Yeah, nothing gets cheaper.
That's
I
how
mean,
we.
I want best for what's down, I'm a taxpayer too, I pay taxes, we all do.
So what are we gonna,
Okay.
what do we decide? I think we've gone round and round.
I think we've beaten it to death.
After 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make a motion that we put it to the article 4 to the voters, as long as we do the advertising or mailing.
With a mail out.
With a mailing, have to be a mailing.
Definitely. Second.
Anyone want to beat this horse to death some more?
No.
Okay,
Go ahead, Sarah.
this is your discussion, but are we gonna add, besides the articles for the fire station, the fact that we're doing the May 22nd, the same mailing?
Well, let's get
Let's
this
do it.
vote.
Do the article.
I thought you guys deciding what's gonna go on the mailing too.
So all those in favor of article 4.
Oh, I think they're all gonna be yes, no. Right. So they,
4 and 1 opposed. All right, and make a motion on spending the money out of the.
I move that we afford that, we pay for that mailing out of the select board special funds.
And
And that we
information.
include a notice about the importance of the PAC meeting.
and we also can send in that thing that we can have we can pick a couple dates where we can have, you know, we'll be present, all the material, if people wanna come for an informational meeting.
I think that
So you have to have,
That sounds good.
we typically have the public hearing anyway, don't we? Warrant articles. Don't we have to have a full-
No, the town meeting.
That's right, we don't have to have a public hearing on this because it's an actual press time.
So let's vote on,
Yeah.
on,
The letter.
on the letter. You seconded, okay.
Okay, all those in favor? 5-4 for that. Carol made a motion.
Yeah.
And then, we wanna have Dan or somebody decide a couple dates for some kind of information meeting that.
I don't know where you're gonna hold them or anything like that. I mean, you're down to really no time at all.
Right.
Well, we can do our prices.
we have some
Then they'll say
dates,
we
but
got
I
no
do,
room.
I just
Right.
I just wanna emphasize that if you're gonna do an informational meeting, you should offer one in North Belgrade and one in
Yeah.
Belgrade Lakes, because we do a lot of.
Absolutely.
So we can look at dates for the
Yeah,
community
because I mean, the
center.
North Belfast community center up there was probably fairly open. Most,
It's pretty open.
so that way we can do something. So,
What was the date of the special town meeting?
21st.
21st,
Yeah, you have 2 weeks.
there's not much time.
Yeah, I would just pick some dates, and we'll make it work. Make 3, we can do one here that's available and rec center and all
okay,
those.
if you guys are gonna do it, give us some dates.
Yeah.
Pick some dates and give it to us.
What time we getting back that day from Tennessee?
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so
We'll figure that
can
out.
we ask the committee to give us some dates and get back to us
Yeah.
within, by Thursday, the latest?
We
So
can
we can-
email tonight, tomorrow, we'll get them back.
Okay,
And we'll put together a slideshow that we already have. We can have
I
information.
don't think we necessarily need to approve those dates, it's just, let's just give them to the town office and get them scheduled.
So absolutely, I wanted to, but maybe make a informed decision.
No, sorry.
This will be just a suggestion. I mean, there's no better place than to pass information that at the transfer station.
True.
Yeah, so if you make a flyer.
Yes.
And have somebody there passing the info. That'd be great. So anyways, thank you.
All right.
On your PowerPoint, the conclusion ends saying, as a town of 3,200 residents, the entire cost to bond for this project would be a strain on the taxpayers. So you might want to
They have
reconsider
to
that
reconsider
last
that statement.
statement.
Or probably is a true statement.
It is a true statement.
I mean, it's true. But just be aware that that's what's on your PowerPoint.
Okay.
Who has a copy of the PowerPoint?
I do.
Okay.
I don't know if Laura does, but I do.
I don't print, it's online.
You'll settle over if you wanna-
Okay. Let's move it along.
Mhm. All right. Hey, well, now we're on new business.
I got that I can do that too.
You don't have to. That's just got the dodge, you know, the traffic somewhere else. That's
Sarah, you may want to stay and I get some more good news.
So,
Thank you, Dan.
figure you might want it back.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thanks, Travis.
All right, on to committee appointments and resignations. We have a new appointment.
Is Elizabeth still here?
She
I
is.
am still here.
Hanging on.
I didn't realize these went so long, but I am still here.
They don't necessarily always last as long.
Normally.
All right, we have Elizabeth, supposed to be on the DC Stevens Trust Committee. Do we have a motion?
I know that. Oh.
Everybody moved second.
I just need one. Motion.
Michael,
Michael.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any questions for Elizabeth?
Oh, that was it? No, I don't.
Thank
I
you for
don't.
letting me get involved.
Yeah, no, I'll touch base with Rita and because I know she's familiar with it, and I'll just get next steps from her.
All right, well, let's vote on it and then she can get together with Mary to be sworn in.
Yeah.
So all those
Well, I
in
just get
favor?
an
5-0.
Just, Elizabeth, just stop into the town office and see Mary and she will get you sworn in.
okay, any time or a particular time?
Yeah,
Wednesday.
any time that the office is open. Mary is not in Thursday, excuse me, of this week. She and Penny are in Bangor for training. But
Okay.
she would be in Friday or anytime next week, just not a Wednesday.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I will do that.
You're very welcome.
All right, bye, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, reappointment, we have Sarah, and I don't even dare to try to pronounce the last name.
Lozevsky.
Okay. Another one, DC Stevens Trust Committee member.
I move we appoint her to the committee.
Second.
All right, this is a reappointment, is she here? No.
That's just-
So
She doesn't have to
I know
reappoint.
she doesn't need to be, sometimes she
No.
can show up, so, so all those in favor? 5-0. That's it.
Okay.
Next item is Dalton demolition bids.
I'm just gonna text Jason. Be ready, what, 15 minutes or so, 2
Yeah,
minutes?
hopefully this one will take more than 10 minutes. Okay.
So we received several bids for Dalton demolition.
As you can see here, the whole list, I went lowest bid to highest, it was quite a range. Kevin Haas was the low bid, 9,730, and then high bid Ford Enterprises out of Hope, Maine, 68,800. And then several in between, and you did get a copy of all of those proposals in your packet to take a look at, of course.
Question I had, Kevin says the town provides the dumpsters.
Yes,
Do all of them say that? I looked through and I wasn't clear on.
we're doing it, Kenny and Corey got that set up because if we let the contractor do it, they were gonna charge us that plus whatever on top of it, so
Okay.
they could make some
I
money.
just wanted to make sure.
We knew we could do it cheaper,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
so,
Kevin did call me earlier today and wanted it on the record for you that, that price was, going to be that if the dumpsters were provided and he didn't have to wait for any.
yes, he told me the same thing.
We wanted to get
He
it.
told me the same.
If I gotta stand around.
Yeah, he already told us.
No. Motion,
I move we accept the bid of Kevin House of Belgrade for $9,730 to take care of the demolition of 8 and 10 Dalton.
Second.
any discussion from anybody else? No? All those in favor?
You're gonna let us know ahead of time, Corey?
What's that?
You're gonna let us know ahead of time, like if power unhooked and all that?
Yeah. Yeah, Mike said he would be out of there tomorrow, so,
Is that our
Yeah.
tenant?
Yes,
yeah,
I saw some trailers there.
yeah, he's been working. quite good.
he needed just a bit more time,
And,
to get everything out. I've been in contact with him.
and what about the, historical society, how do we,
We will move that out on Monday.
okay? And do we get some shelving and everything up for what they need up to North Belgrade, or?
I think they're doing their own shoveling.
Okay, I just wanna make sure they're not just dumping stuff in the basement.
We do
Having it float
need to make
away.
sure they have pallets though, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So
We
we just,
can
you
get
know,
pallets.
as wet as it's been out lately, I just don't want.
Yeah, I don't want a problem, absolutely. Okay.
Next is sand, salt, shed roof bids.
So we had only 4 for this, with low bidder, 11,630, that was Williams Construction out of Brewer. And then the high bid Ford Enterprises out of Hope, 52,400. And again, those proposals were included in your packet for your review. I know we've used Fowler.
Yep.
They're really good, even though they're not the lowest.
Do we know anything about Williams Construction? Does anyone work for them or?
I know nothing about it.
And
I
I'll-
talked to the guy the other day, he said they've done 3 of these roofs in the last couple of years, and that's the extent of what I know.
And Lemelin we've used as your
Yeah.
carpenter and.
Yeah, he's been around here.
What are they doing? Just
Changing, rescrewing it and taking the ridge cap off and changing the ridge cap seal. And then, of course, fixing the front panels there and doing 3 support brackets inside out of 2x6x16, so that's been. Those excavators is broke.
A quick review online for Williams is not positive. The reviews.
The what?
A quick scan of reviews for the lowest bid there for Williams is not positive.
The question I have is, his says using 2-inch screws, somebody else says using galvanized metal roofing screws. I'm outside of my comfort zone, but,
The specs
When
are
we
in
use-
the RFP.
oh, they are, so.
Yep.
When do could you use stainless steel? so they
Text
don't
tag
rust?
number 14, 2-inch galvanized metal roofing screws
Okay, all right.
with EPDM washers. Like
Okay.
I know what I'm talking about.
I was like, well, we don't
That's
Stainless steel isn't gonna make a difference, that's not a problem.
Okay,
Yeah, no.
They're breaking from fatigue. I mean, between Fowler and Levelland, there's not a big difference. One lives in our town, one doesn't.
Well, if I were gonna choose between the two, I would
Yeah.
choose the local boy.
Well, that's kind of my thought, even though, I mean, it's almost the same price between the two, and if we're. If he's used them, I'd like to see what he thinks.
That first one is like.
Corey.
Oh,
Corey, have you been, I don't know Lemelin, have you been happy with their work?
I have no problem with it. I mean, I've heard other people complain a little bit, but I've never heard anything terrible about it.
I'm just looking that it's not a big difference between Fowler and Lemelin lives in town, which I think is worth something.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned about the Williams one with just right off the bat. I mean, that's a significant difference.
Yeah.
With, you know, as we know, low bids not always.
What's your experience with Fowler?
They've been very prompt with working on the roof that they did.
they've done most of it.
They did my steel building at the house and I have no complaints. They came back and made a couple repairs, no problems. I have
No, they've been very good.
very positive experience dealing with them.
So,
That's the only thing, one thing I like about Fowler's fact that they are a roofing company.
Yeah,
That's all they do.
So that's kind of what they do.
and I know they have a big crew too. Like there's a lot of them
I
running
don't have a
around.
problem with Lumlin, but I mean. Sometimes specializing in something. You know, so if you had, I had you guys, that there was new generators to go in and put in the toilets all over the place. You know,
Right.
you probably could do it.
Right.
But
Not my specialty.
it's not what you do.
my recommendation is gonna be Fowler, but
Okay,
this is gonna be on you guys. I don't think that price difference with Williams is gonna be in our best interest. Especially where Fowler and Lemelin are within a couple $100 of each other.
Yeah.
They certainly didn't coordinate that between the
Right.
two.
yeah, that seems like a
There's a
fairly
reason.
reasonable price.
Yeah.
and what kind of guarantee are we getting out of anybody?
They don't get paid until the job is done and inspected,
Yeah,
but I don't know that. I don't know that we have any requirement for any sort of, you know what I mean?
I don't know, they're right on 27.
They're just pins and screws and 2x6.
Oh, they just, they
So I don't
want a
know
house at the end of.
what we
and
can.
I know we actually, we talked about the other day, some kind of,
Yeah.
something
But
on
they
the
used to be right
inside,
up by
so
the
if
end,
they broke,
like right next to.
broke it was gonna be breaking wood rather
Oh,
than
okay.
breaking.
They had a sign there for a while. I
Uh,
don't know much.
Well, we had mentioned that we needed to talk to the state. And we talked to the state and they said it's a different building design than what we have, that they've got sheathing on the roof, so.
No, I was on, somebody was saying something about,
Bumper across the.
bumper across the front,
Oh.
so that you.
I think you did, Greg, you mentioned it.
Yeah, so what I was gonna do is, cause I looked at this years ago, and, the front's banged up and broke it. After the repair, I was thinking that maybe we put some bumpers across. Steel bumpers that would give a little bit bend but not break,
Maybe,
and put up like a
maybe. you could-
6x8 or something across there, 4x6 across there. So when the larvas, when the dump trucks are dump up,
Yeah.
they're hitting with their bodies.
They make those rubber ones, like when you back up to a loading dock.
Well, that's what I
I
was,
wonder if you could put those around the top of it,
put a
rubber,
screw them right into the header
yeah,
for the garage door.
give it a little, I noticed the light was, we were there today and I noticed the light was,
Yeah, you
Not that
guys are
happy.
supposed to be getting a new light.
And another thing, just to bring up, I don't know what was spec'd out the screws, but. They have a problem with the screws backed out, so there's already a screw hole there. And they need to reuse that same screw hole. So I don't know if they spec'd out a little longer screw. Rather than just going back into the same hole, so it's down like a half an inch further.
you
Yeah,
had,
so it
you had made
actually-
that comment about a bigger head of the screw
Yeah, I
to
thought
seal that,
the,
Bigger diameter would work,
yeah, and a bigger washer. On the rubber washer part,
but if you put the same screw back in there, it's already loose.
right,
yeah, I think the screw is definitely bigger. It's supposed to be bigger than what's in there.
and you said they're not backing out, they're breaking off.
Don't know. We got looking at it the other day when I had a contractor come look at it and the sun was finally shining on the roof. And it looks like at some point, somebody's been up on that roof with putty or caulking and has smeared it along a couple seams up there, so that wasn't noticed before, but it's obviously somebody's been up on that roof. I don't know what that's all about. So,
Don't know how they even got there.
no,
All right, so you're happy with Fowler?
they've done good with us. They really have.
I've had very good success with them.
Yeah, I move we award the contract for repair of the salt roof of the sand and salt shed to Fowler Roofing of Gardner in the amount of $30,800.
Second.
All those in favor? Here.
We're getting one.
Oh, yeah.
No, paving bids, see.
I haven't heard back, so he may have gone to bed. It's 9:30. So we only had 3 bids for paving, the low being Pike out of Fairfield at $1,689,804.60. Mansur out of Anson and Allstate's out of Richmond were both, very close. As you can see, a couple thousand between them, less than that actually. High bid was $1,947,182. All of those proposals were included. For your review, there's about $70,000 difference between the cost of Pike's low bid and what we asked voters to approve. And it is my understanding that we ran into an issue with a fuel escalator the last time, which added quite a bit to the project cost. So I'll do my best to say what Jason told me. He has the Stevens Road on the list for paving, but that is in a sense his throwaway road. So he won't do anything to that. If we're gonna make whoever you all choose give us slips every day, probably to Jason, and we'll keep up to date daily on what the costs are that we're spending. If we're good to go and we can do Stevens, we'll do it, but if the fuel messes us up, then we would not touch the Stevens Road so that we can stay within the budget as approved. So I wanted to let you know that.
So the $1,689,000 is close to our budget. The others are way out of budget.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yep.
And what about the asphalt price adjustment?
That has something to do with the fuel.
That's what we're talking about. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's, yeah.
Okay.
It was quite an issue last time, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Fuel prices were.
Yeah, they're down right now, so
They're
maybe
down,
it's
so-
okay, but you don't know, you never know.
I move we approve Pike Industries of Fairfield for our 2025 paving cycle provider at $1,689,804.60.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. On
Under other business, we have a snow blower located over at the Dalton's property, and we also have that old trailer, and Corey mentioned it to me today. We wondered if we might want to put those out to bid and get rid of them.
No more.
He said it's a 4-foot commercial, and he said it's a bugger to do.
That's a
but-
backbreaker.
Like
Yeah, they don't use it.
Yeah,
They don't use it. I don't know where it came from.
it's a
You,
killer.
It's nothing they can use over the transfer station.
I asked him that, was there
No, he
some
does
stuff?
everything in his plow. We haven't used it in 3 years.
What's the trailer?
The 16 or 18 foot trailer that we replaced last fall.
we're not using them. Let's put them out to bid and
Not
get a little
getting
money
more,
back in.
anything spectacular, so.
You were not gonna make up, 400,000 or 500,000 on them? No.
Yeah.
No, make motions for one bid.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Get rid of surplus property.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Kristen.
Maybe we'll make enough money on these letters we can send out.
I don't think so.
Probably not, maybe.
Maybe we'll pay for a mailing.
Okay, you should have an updated warrant sheet.
Okay.
It was on your desktop. If your binder was here, I put it in.
All right, okay.
Let's see.
Nice, Marty.
Good.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Warrant is payroll warrant 42. $27,777.03.
Move to accept.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Second one is AP warrant. We got 43. $7,111.56.
Move to accept.
Second.
In favor? 5-0. The payroll warrant, 44. $31,634.15.
Second.
Questions on that one?
Motion. I got a second.
I read it, so.
Yeah.
You just call it,
Okay.
if I read it.
I know, Dan.
Yeah,
That was so random.
yeah.
You and Doug and I look at. Huh? Okay, we don't get any coffee.
All right. AP warrant, 45. $49,319.68.
Second.
Yep, I got you.
All in favor?
I'm tracking now.
5. Nothing. Payroll warrant 46. $9,719.81.
Second.
So now I know, all in favor? 0. Warrant 47. $8,147.96.
Move to accept.
Second.
All those in favor on that one? 0. AP warrant number 48. $99,570.55. Motion.
So I move to accept.
Second.
Doug already motioned, so
Oh, sorry,
Barbara, I'll
second.
put you a
Yeah.
second.
Sorry.
All right, that's the bigger one. Anyone have any questions on that? We'll do that one in a minute.
I just had a question about the Snowmobile Club, the Belgrade Dragon Masters. That is money that we collect in the
Yeah,
snowmobile fees?
Yes,
Okay. And does some go, does a portion go to the state?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. I'll make it for this.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure that the revenue came from the snowmobile.
Any other questions on that one? All those in favor? 5-0. Payroll warrant 49, $26,481.32.
I move to accept.
Second.
I got Doug.
All right, all those in
Did you
favor?
already move it?
5-0. And AP warrant 50. $11,112.24.
So move.
Was that Carol or Doug?
Carol, I moved it, Doug seconded.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Speak up, I can't hear.
Any questions on that? None, all in favor? 5-0. Okay, amen.
Okay. Oh, comment?
RFPs for the sand and salt demolition and paving work are in and on your agenda for review. The updated Center for All Seasons path RFP will be posted this week. We got some updates from the state, so we've adjusted that. We've received 25 applications for the senior tax rebate program per the ordinance. These will be processed and those who qualify will receive a rebate check prior to September 1. We will want to take a look at the winter snowplow contract as we now have 2 years left. This will be added to an upcoming agenda. I haven't heard it from Brooke, but I've heard that he would like to purchase some new equipment. So he's interested in extending his contract with us so that he could do that. With so many new seasonal opportunities for businesses popping up, like food trucks, vendors, now is a great time to review and discuss some ideas with permitting and licensing. Mary Vogel has done some research on this and we will include it in an upcoming agenda for your consideration. We've been wanting to put it on for the past couple of meetings, but she hasn't quite finished. It's honestly, last week and this week has been so busy, like incredibly busy in the office.
We probably should do it soon though, because we don't wanna hit the.
So she
fees
said
when
she's
they-
not finished with putting something together, but it's not off our radar. Continuing with the monthly department and or committee presentations, Jared Bond, our library director, will be present at the board, will present to the board at your meeting May 20. Mary Vogel's, I forgot to give you a copy of this, I'll email it, I apologize. Mary Vogel submitted a short article on our dog basket giveaway, which made the main town and city clerk's newsletter. So I wanted to give her kudos, great job. Facilities has been busy getting ready for summer, the flower beds, if you noticed when they came in, front of the
Yeah,
town office,
they
were
look
just
really
when they
nice.
look really nice.
Yeah.
So, I've already said thank you, but publicly, thank you to Corey and his crew, great job. Cemeteries will be open May 15, we have a dozen burials scheduled already with the first on May 16. It's gonna be a busy season. Memorial Day services will take place at the Old Townhouse on Cemetery Road Monday, May 26th at 10 a.m. We will be planting flowers and need volunteers. A work day for that is scheduled for 9 a.m. on Thursday, May 22. If you would like to help, please bring a trowel, gloves, hat, and bug spray.
I
It's a really
nominate
good
Sarah
time.
since we're getting the article in the paper for
Okay. It's very important to do it. It's just really nice to do it. We've ordered a new flagpole for the veterans area adjacent to the old townhouse. This should be installed and ready for Memorial Day services. I believe, Corey found a 20-foot out of Bangor. They're the folks that we've been purchasing flags from. They're really nice man. Parks and Recreation Director, Kristen McDowell and Assistant Avery Whitney have been busy at the Center for All Seasons, planning and preparing for summer camp and various summer activities. Rentals are coming in with the center booked through July. I believe her hours, I didn't double check this, hours for summer camp 8 to 4:30. KB Cog will hold their third annual planning day and general assembly meeting on June 24 at 9 a.m. in Augusta. And of course, the select board is invited to attend. I went to the one in Solon and it was actually really super informational. They have some really good speakers and it's really good, and networking with other communities as well. So if you're interested, I can get you that information. Mary Vogel, Penny Burley, and I attended government accounting training through MMA. Both Mary and Penny will be attending MMA's annual conference in Bangor. That's Thursday of this week.
CEO Hans Rasmussen and I, as local health officer, have been working on a dangerous building situation at 151 Knowles Road after a drug bust there last week. Legal counsel has been contacted. A caution sign has been posted by code enforcement. A reminder, we have the summer residence meeting scheduled for August 12th. We are currently working on the summer newsletter. Actually, I haven't even started. I'm trying to work on it. I apologize.
So we'll have.
Yeah. We can get it done pretty quickly. I'm waiting for submissions from all my department heads, all the events, because that's mostly what it will be. I would like to have it out to residents by the end of this month. So, and I've sent out 2 reminders to staff, so I'm sure they'll get things done. Our assessing us.
Make sure you reach out to the Associated Firefighter Association on their events too.
Yeah. Oh, I did
They're
an
not-
association.
they're not-
I always send it to Dan. I always send it to Danny and Travis and Dan.
That'd be me.
For fire department.
Yeah. well, the association, send it that way.
Okay.
One's
He
the
keeps
fire
pointing at
department,
me.
one's the
Make a note.
association.
That way, their events get posted on there too, so. Make sure.
Okay, I'm making myself a note, Michael. Okay.
Okay.
Our assessing office has been busy with April pickups. We're on track to have a tax commitment in late June and bills out in July. The Senior Resources Committee will again host life planning for the future at the town office on May 10 from 9 to 11 a.m. This is a really, really good
They did a
event.
really good job with it
It's,
last year.
it is so helpful and everybody should attend. It's really, you should be doing this anyway. All are welcome to attend this very informative and useful event. There is also a Zoom option. I'll include this in the minutes when I put this out. It's got the Zoom link there. It's Clerk's Week. Did anybody know that?
No.
Thank you to Town Clerk Mary Vogel and her deputies Ian and Joanne for their dedication and service to the town of Belgrade and its residents. Stop by this week to say hello and thank them in person. And I did post something on Facebook today to let the public know. I am also planning to be away. I'm actually gonna try to take a week off as vacation. Because I turned 60 on Monday. I know, a little scary. Scary for me.
Couple things, with the snow plowing contract, we've been talking about that already. I really think we ought to invite them in to come in and talk to us and let us know how they were doing the first year. Any concerns or anything else, I'd like to hear from them, especially if they want to extend it. The second thing is audit report. How are we doing on the audit report?
She sent us another draft, which I sent out to you all. She sent some adjusting journal entries, and I think she had a couple of questions. We've been going through the audit to pick up on anything we see that's not right, send that to her, so I'm in hopes that we'll have a final.
If we don't have one by the end of this coming month, then I think we're gonna have to reach out to our lawyer, because they're under contract to give us a report, and this is dragged on long enough.
I guess what I was gonna ask is, maybe you ought to have the auditor attend your next board
Something,
meeting
this is.
and explain why it's not
Yeah.
been done, you know.
Yeah, this is dragged on way too long. We pay good money for an auditor, so. I understand that we have a bookkeeper, we didn't have this. We're in demand now. But okay.
Executive session funds is not available because it's after 9 o'clock. He already told me.
So we probably should have a quick meeting.
I don't have anything for you, you can discuss it if you don't.
I think we need to have a response, so even if it's a quick meeting, to take a quick vote.
Yeah,
So,
I think we need to have a quick meeting.
so I move we take a, we take a 5-minute break and then we can exit and then exit.
Thank you, Brad.
We're gonna,
See ya, take care.
Use back. That's all. All right,
I move we go into executive session at 10:10.
Second.
Did I do that right?
You gotta read
X,
the,
get it.
Oh, I move we regular session at 10:10. We're all voting?
Second.
That, a second.
No, all those in favor.
Okay. I move we enter executive session at not 10:10, 10 minutes of 10.
yeah,
We know. I know what you said.
I was looking at it. and
At
I-
9 minutes of 10, I move we vote.
Under MR, good paper.
OMRSA 405CH.
second,
Second.
All those
All in favor?
Okay,
Okay.
you're
okay,
back on.
so,
Would report an executive session, we asked the town manager to respond on a confidential matter on behalf of the board.
second. Five, no. Want to adjourn?
I move we adjourn at 10:04.
Second.
Okay. We weren't here till 10:10.
Almost.
Almost. This is, we haven't done this.